proper intro time. Welcome once again to a new episode of the Spur of the Moment podcast. I am your host, Justin Spurr, and joined always, it's co-host Jordan, the incomparable Jordan, everybody.
Howdy, howdy.
How's it going, Jordan?
It's going okay, but I'm not in the chat quite yet.
That's okay.
That's not showing up for me just yet.
That'll give me some time to go through the intro. So today's episode, it's a new year. It's mostly the same us. Some people are going into their new season for the new year. We're not. We're still very much in our first season. We will eventually have a season break later in the year. Haven't decided when that is. But for now, we're still in the same season. But we do have some new changes. We have some new rules for book reports. Don't worry, I will explain them later at the end. There's new variations to the rules. It's all good. We'll explain that. But today, we're going to start off with some news, including aliens in Miami. We're going to talk about some upsetting Steamboat Willie news. We're going to, obviously, we have our weekly segment, Marvel What If news. And we're going to talk some Minecraft. So to start off with, Jordan, let's talk about those aliens in Miami, because I don't have it marked down. Did you watch or read about it like I told you to?
Yeah, I went and I watched there was a news thing, and I mean, anytime there's blurry footage like that, it's not real. I then went and I did a little bit of a further dive, and I saw a more clear video of it. And from what it looks like and what is it just looks like it's two or three cops all walking beside each other. That
Absolutely
when
not.
when the footage was blurry, it made it look like aliens. It's
No,
not aliens.
well, no, but you didn't see clearly. You didn't look at the footage where it's the like 60 or 100 cop cars all descending on this mall. Like there's a bunch.
Yeah, they were there because it was a teen riot.
That's what they said, right? They said that it was what they said. And here's the thing: when it comes to aliens, I'm not a conspiracy-minded person up top, right? But when it comes to something where it's like you have no reason to obscure facts, then there's facts to be obscured. So like, okay, if it's a couple of teens lighting off firecrackers, why did that require 100 cops? And yes,
No,
okay.
they didn't say it was a couple teens. It was a riot. It was hundreds of
No, again, the
teenagers.
story keeps changing. Initially, it was that they thought it was a bunch of fireworks, and they thought that it might be a shooting. And then they were like, "Oh, it's a bunch of teenagers rioting." The story keeps changing, and when the story changes that much, and you can't be consistent, if it was a riot, we'd have names, we'd have video, we'd have footage. There's too much. There's too much trying to obscure the facts for it to not be something.
Sure, okay. But also it's 2024, or maybe when this happened, 2023. Um, Video cameras aren't that blurry.
Right, but there hasn't been any
Video
legit.
cameras aren't that blurry. Phone cameras aren't that blurry. I've known someone who has taken a picture of the moon with their phone, and it
Right,
was crystal clear.
but
If
there hasn't been any footage released publicly of what's been inside the mall. It's all
Sure, I'm not saying that
so
it wasn't
it's
like I'm not saying that it is what they say it is. Maybe it was something different. It's not aliens.
but the thing is
Why is it that every time something is alien related, the videos that are always like otherwise 1080p, super clear, super good, are all of a sudden blurry?
right, okay, but again, it's one thing when the official story has so many holes in it. Like this is a situation where it's the American media. If it was a school shoot, or if it was a shooting, or if it was an event, there'd be names, there'd be photos, there'd be everything, right? When the official story is so flimsy, then there's something to hide. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, and I'm not saying you're
It's
wrong
not
in that
just a
regard.
riot of some teenagers. There was something there
There's
that happened.
there's probably something there that happened. I'm just saying it's not aliens, because why would all of a sudden, as soon as aliens are involved, the video quality is like suddenly we're
But
back in
again,
2016,
there wasn't, but there
2013,
wasn't any video
and
of
there's
inside
only
the mall. There hasn't been any video of inside the mall. I don't know where you
no,
got
but there
that.
there is a video that was the entire point of the thing, is that it's from up on top of a balcony. It's pointed down, and it's like the line of police cruisers that are all on the
Yeah,
street, and
but
you see this
there's
what
another.
looks like an alien-like creature that's walking, and then when you get the more clear footage of it, it's just three police officers walking beside each other.
No, no, but what did you
That's the
not?
only thing when I
Did you
that's the
not
only
see the Did you not see the
that's
video?
the only thing when I looked up Miami aliens that came up.
Did you not see the video footage though of like the hundreds of police cars all?
Yes. Yes, and they were all, and there was an alien that was walking, and
Yeah,
when
no,
you get the
that's
clearer footage of that same scene, it's just three police officers or however many police officers walking beside each other, and it was the blurriness of the footage that made it look like it was an alien.
no, but
There's no alien.
that's I mean that was there was a lot of again. There's more than one eyewitness who described, and the thing is, when more than one eyewitness describes something consistently, then there's truth in the middle. Like when like four or five people all describe the same thing, which is 10 foot tall aliens, then there's something going on there, right? There's enough
I need to
consistent,
I need to see a clear footage where it's
but
actually very
but
apparent
again,
that it's an alien.
but
Otherwise, I'm calling bullshit.
but then again, why?
Because
But
why in 2024,
no, but hey,
2023, whenever this happened,
put that out of your
why
mind.
would all of a sudden, no, why would all of a sudden, as soon as there's an alien involved, we don't have clear footage of it? No, I'm
Because
sorry, no.
okay, then why is there that many cops descending on for no that not that many?
I,
That's it's
I
too.
don't know. You're right. It's weird. I'm not saying it's not weird. I'm just saying it's not an alien.
Then what is it? What is
I
it?
have no idea. Maybe it's a time traveler.
No, I mean it's alien in a different name.
Maybe the temporal fucking vortex that was revolving around it is what caused the footage to be blurry. But no, I'm sorry. As soon as there's an alien, footage doesn't just get blurry like that.
Yeah, but again, no
Not
one's.
not in
That's not.
not in this day and
But
age of
that's
technology.
not what the crux of this is based on. It's not based on one piece of footage. It's based on several eyewitness, consistent, similar eyewitness accounts of this thing happening. Right? It's not just footage. It's not. It's not just
I
one
didn't see
piece of footage.
I didn't see anything that would make me believe that it was aliens.
Yeah, I mean, right, but again, it should be enough to make you question
Something
the
weird.
official.
Something weird, sure. No, I didn't. But I did like 10 minutes of research because you didn't give me that much time.
That's the thing is it's one of those like there's too many irregularities in this for it to not be. And my thing is people keep saying, oh, there's only so many times people can say, um, oh, if we have all this social media, how come we're not talking about this? And now near every other week it seems there's an alien spot, like people spotting alien shit or alien shit happening, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. Now people are like, oh, how come we keep talking about this so much? And it's like that's because yeah, we have social media now, and that's why. And now we're connected. It's like when everyone always like, oh, alien stuff only seems to happen in America. No, that's not true. Alien stuff only it happens everywhere. It happens all across the planet, and it's consistent everywhere. And yeah, it's not just America. And I think yeah, now that we're more interconnected, yeah, I think that's why they're like announcing it and telling people it and being more open with it because they've hit a point where like, oh, we can't keep the cat in the bag anymore. And maybe yeah, this isn't the first time that an alien has walked around a mall, but this is the first time that they can't cover it up because there's so many people who are on social media now. Because this thing is all over my TikTok, and I've seen all sorts of different videos of different angles of different, and it's weird. You don't call that many cops in for some the amount of and they shut down the airspace and they won't say what it is and they're being cagey about this story. If it is what they're saying it is, you wouldn't be. It's one of those things where you don't hide a thing like in that fashion unless you have something to hide, right? If there was nothing to hide, it wouldn't look like you were hiding something.
Sure, but and I'm mostly playing devil's advocate at this point because I want to stress for the people listening. I believe in aliens.
Aliens are a thing. They
I
exist.
do fully believe that they are. You can't argue against aliens. They have to exist. We are not the only intelligent beings in all of space.
Yeah.
It is a mathematical like we have to. So that's not my point here. My point is just in this specific. And again, I haven't seen any of what you're talking about on my TikTok. I haven't seen anyone talking about this. So that's fascinating to see how the algorithm works in that regard.
I mean, I've made a lot
But
of videos about aliens, so it doesn't
um,
surprise me.
I haven't seen anything. So my only interaction with this is yeah, like the 10 minutes that I did doing a cursory Google thing before we started this podcast. But that being said, if I can think of like other things that could be happening that are terrestrial in nature, spies, other foreign governments
Yeah,
creating
I don't know.
chaos. Other like there's if I can think of other reasons or other
There's
things that
there,
it could be.
but I could poke holes in your stuff just as much as you can poke holes in my stuff,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
And that's where I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing that it's not weird and that they're not covering something up. I just don't in this specific instance, I just don't think it's aliens.
I mean, to me, it's just there's too many. I'm not saying it is or it isn't because obviously Pixar didn't happen. That's still my firm.
That's my big
That's
thing
my
is
firm thing.
if all these like if and that's my major issue with this being an alien thing is you're right in this age of social media where everyone has a camera in their pocket and can pull it out and it's 1080p and it's 4K
But
whatever like super good. No, let me finish. In this day and age, if something like that was happening, someone would have gotten a clear shot.
well, it depends. It depends on
No,
what
it doesn't.
it
It
does
doesn't.
though, because
If you have the
that
hundreds of
does.
people that you're talking about being there, one person. That's
But
all it would take.
again, okay, here's the thing,
One
right?
person.
Here's the thing: is every bit a bunch of the footage I've seen is people running out of that mall, right? Um, and
Yeah,
everyone.
and one person would be like would
Hold
be
on,
the
hold on, hold
insane
on,
person who's
hold
a
on.
Star Wars or Star
No,
Trek fan going
no,
like, "Oh my god,"
not
and
necessarily.
capturing it.
Because
Yes,
no,
there would.
let me finish, please. No, because if you're running from a thing, your first instinct is to run from the thing, right? Every time, your first instinct isn't I'm going to stop and put myself into. It's the same thing, and also just the sheer amount of times where I've attempted to like pull my phone quickly out to snag a picture of something, and the moment's passed, right? Like. There's not necessarily that. Maybe yeah, the odds are that one person maybe would. But if you're
There
running
would
from a
be there would be one
hold on. Let me
person.
finish. Let me finish. Um, but if you're in danger, and if it's as dangerous as people had described it, if it was just a normal like it was a shooting event or they thought it was fireworks, the people who were running out of the mall would have said that, right? They have no reason to not say that. You have to ask yourself, these people who are saying this thing, what motivation do they have to not just if it wasn't an alien? Again, I'm not saying it is. What is their motivation to lie? That's what you have to ask yourself, right? That's what you have to say. What is their motivation to say that it's aliens? Because
I mean,
people will call them crazy, right?
I do have an answer to that. Government pressure. Government or police pressure. We will ruin your life if you say anything about
Right.
this.
But here's the thing, right? If it was just a normal, I hate to use the phrase, it's America, but if it was an average shooting, ooh, it feels gross saying that. But if it was just you know what I mean, like a shooting scenario, all those people would have come out and been like, yeah, it was some kids letting off fireworks in the thing, and
Right.
again, what is the reason to make
And
up an alien thing?
right, and that's where I say I could only believe if it's a terrestrial thing and it's not an extraterrestrial alien thing. But if it's a terrestrial thing, the only thing that makes sense to me is it's a foreign power doing something that they don't want to like. So, for example, and I'm throwing the most wild thing that I could think of out here. It's like Russian soldiers who are on American soil,
Right,
and
but
America doesn't want to kick off World War III.
right, but then,
And if they officially let me if we're talking crazy conspiracies, this is just as crazy as aliens.
but that doesn't make
um
any sense.
yes, it does, because
No,
if for example a foreign nation was on their soil doing something of that
right.
nature, then they have to officially declare war,
Right, but the thing
which
is,
kicks off World War III.
the thing is though, if that did happen, if this was an instance of a foreign government attacking us, which it's not,
Not us, we're not American.
whatever, it's not, it would effectively be because it's one of those you attack when you attack all scenarios. But if it was like the government show, I mean the government didn't show up, it was all local police. And number one, and number two, if they did show up, they would pressure you to say that it was a shooting thing because they wouldn't let you come out and be like it's aliens. That creates attention, right? So like you have to ask yourself, why are these people if they are covering something up, why are they saying it's aliens in order to I mean some people think that it's a thing to hide up the Epstein stuff, but that's the
I could
question.
believe
That's
that.
the question is when someone says something crazy, like truly crazy, and being like, and a bunch of people all are saying the same crazy thing. you have to ask yourself, why are they saying this crazy thing? Because if you say a crazy thing, people call you crazy. You don't. Most people don't out of the blue. Most people who aren't like have mental illness don't out of the blue say something crazy, right? So you have to ask, why are they doing that? And
I mean, there
if,
could have been something in the air.
maybe, but even then, um, it's one of those things where yeah, you have to ask. There's too many red flags there for it not to be something. And I fully believe that yeah, there are aliens and they do walk around, and we're at a stage in our life where we're so interconnected that they just can't hide it anymore. That's where I think we're at. Like I'm not saying that this was an instance, but I'm saying I'm like 60% of the way there to thinking it is.
I mean, I the skeptic in me is gonna you have to. I don't believe that no one would have gotten a picture of it.
Right, but
That's
again,
that's 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 the one thing that makes me go no, is because no, there would have been someone hiding that would have snapped something.
yeah.
There would be more, whether it was blurry, whether it was whatever. There would at least be more
Based
corroborating evidence.
based on
There
what
would
I've
be security. There would be security video from the mall.
yeah, but they're not going to release that. That's the thing, is right? Is no one? They're not going to release if it is aliens. They desperately want to pretend that it isn't. They're not gonna release that. Like that's the thing, and it depends based on what I've heard of eyewitnesses. No, there was too much chaos and there was too much running to get any pictures. Like I've seen
That's convenient that not one person could get a picture.
I've
That
seen
that
there's a
that's
lot
a
of
convenient thing that kind of makes your
no
story easier to believe.
because when you're running away from a thing, when you're escaping a thing, when you're being
Not
like
one person, not one
like
out of thousands or hundreds or however many it was. No, I'm
I'll put it to you
sorry,
this way:
I don't buy it.
in an active shooting event, no one's taking pictures, right? Like no one's gonna stop and be
No,
like, "Oh
no,
my god,
because
aliens!" They're not gonna
that no,
stop. They're not gonna do
but
that.
that's a false
But
equivalency,
it's not.
Justin.
But it's not.
It is.
But it's
You're
not.
not going to take a video of a human shooter. Why would you? There's nothing
I
extraordinary
mean,
there.
you're not gonna have
You would
time.
absolutely try to be the person who could get
No,
the $1 million photo of the first alien. Yes.
not if it
Yes.
means no, no,
Human beings are absolutely that greedy. There would be
no,
one person in the
absolutely not.
crowd.
No, not if it
Yes.
was a
Yes, there
no,
would.
absolutely not.
Yes, there would.
Not if it's a danger of
Yes,
no,
there
absolutely not,
would.
absolutely not. No,
I'm sorry, but this is where and we're not going to
absolutely
get
not.
any further in this. We're going to have to respectfully agree to disagree.
It's I mean again, you're running from something that you think is attacking you. You're not gonna stop to take a picture. You're just not. You wouldn't.
You underestimate human greed.
But again, I don't underestimate.
You're right.
You underestimate.
If this was a normal everyday situation, a
No,
human terrestrial situation, yes, absolutely, you're
uh,
right. That is one conversation
you're
to have.
you're
But to be the person who gets the video or photographic evidence of something that changes the very
not
fate of the
not
world,
if it's attacking
yes,
you. No,
yes,
even
yes, there would absolutely
no.
yes. But if it's a mall full of people, yes, there would absolutely be one person who is quickly hiding behind a corner to get a
Absolutely
picture
not.
and then boots it. Yes, yes, there is.
No,
Yes,
no. There's no.
anyone who is listening to this who agrees with me, comment and tell us.
Most people have most unless they're insane. Most people
You're
have
right.
have
You're
an
right.
ounce of
75, 80%, 90%, sure. But there would absolutely be
no.
at least 1% of a person. Yes, there
Not
would.
not unless you want to get
I would.
trampled.
I
No,
would.
you wouldn't. No, you
Yes, I
wouldn't.
would.
No, you
Yes, I
don't. No,
would.
you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. That's an absolute lie. I know because I wouldn't. I'd run. I'd absolutely run. I'm not gonna stop and risk my life for a picture. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your life. No picture is worth your life. And any person with an ounce of sanity would agree with that. Nope. Then that's why.
Justin. There
Okay.
are a lot of humans who do not have an ounce of sanity.
No,
I'm sorry.
not that
You're
level. No,
wrong. You're
no,
wrong.
I'm
You're
not.
wrong in this
I'm not
instance.
wrong.
You are.
I'm not wrong. You would absolutely again if you felt it was you or the alien, you would do one of two things. You would attack it, or you would run. Right? You fight or flight every single time. Humans at the end of the day are animals.
The amount of videos that you see of people who won't jump onto a train track, for example, to save a person, but want to stand there, take out their camera, and take video of it just to go viral.
I mean that no, I mean, again,
The amount of people who would watch a man drown just so they could get video of it.
yeah, but in that instance, you're
No,
not.
I'm sorry.
In
I'm
that
sorry.
in that
There would
instance,
be
though,
there would be at least one person
no.
who would on the top floor of it, who's far enough away. Yes, they would stand there for a second, get a quick picture, and then run.
No, because a person that far away is going to see a stampede of people, and they're not going to know what's going on. And they're gonna. That's the thing is, in a situation like that, you're not informed of everything. That you just see a bunch of people running, so you're also going to run, right? And that's the thing is, human instinct to survive. It will 9 times out of 10, and even if they did get video, they'd be running, and the video and footage would probably be mostly unusable. It'd be blurry. It'd be you wouldn't see anything. That's the thing is you're not putting yourself.
We're not talking about what the efficacy or what the quality of it would necessarily be. I'm simply saying people would try to take a picture of it. Yes, they would. Yes, they would. If they saw an alien, yes, they would.
Not in a crowded mall where you're.
Yeah, they would.
Again, you're looking at this from the perspective of someone who's sitting here safely. You're not thinking about it from the perspective of. I'm not saying because they're scared of the aliens. I'm saying that it's going to be a panic mess of people running and bodies and especially in that scenario, that you see there's footage of like huge crowds of people like booking it out of that mall, right? And you're not gonna turn in that crowd of people and be like selfie, or, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna have that, and that's what you have to get in your brain is you're sitting here being like, I'm gonna stop and have time to think about taking a picture of this. You're not gonna have time. You're gonna be busy running because you're not gonna want to get trampled by a crowd of people. That's why. And then I
disagree.
And that's why most times when people like it irritates me. This is the reason why I'm so adamant about this is because it irritates me when people are like, why don't you people take pictures of it? Because in that moments happen so quickly, and we don't know the biology. We don't know what if these things did exist, what they look like. They were described as like 7-foot tall shadow monsters. Like, we don't know. We have no human comprehension or understanding of how a thing moves. Maybe they did take pictures and they don't show up on film. We don't know. Maybe they have technology where they don't. We can't, like, it's different.
No.
It's different. Aliens
I don't buy
different. You're looking at it from having human comprehension, right? It's different than something terrestrial, like what's the word? A cryptozoologist. Like, it's different than like with the why don't we have pictures of it if it exists? Although I've seen some pretty interesting video recently of Bigfoot. If we were talking Bigfoot and I said, oh, people are saying they saw Bigfoot, I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't. I've seen some interesting videos, but or Loch Ness Monster, any of that stuff. If it's something that's from Earth but mythological, then sure. But with aliens, we don't know enough. We have no understanding of a thing we can't possibly understand. So when people are like, oh, there's no pictures, my argument is then that's because they don't want us to take pictures of them, right? Obviously, they're advanced. They're an advanced species of people. So to say why don't we have pictures of it, because they probably have prevented us from taking pictures of them, would be my response to that. That's one of those things is we can't understand it. But when enough people say a thing, is yes, there's obviously that's why I say I'm only 60% of the way there, because the other 40% is like, yes, mass hysteria and false memory but yeah, there's too many red flags. Anyway, let us actually jump into movie news, because this went on for longer than I was anticipating. Where shall we start? Oh yes, the Orville. Apparently Orville's not dead.
Oh, good.
Yeah, according to Scott Grimes and Seth MacFarlane, it's not dead. Apparently, it's still, conversations are still happening. My theory has always been that Seth MacFarlane does too many projects at once. So the reason why we haven't seen season 4 of The Orville is because he made that TED show that nobody asked for. Hey, it looks fine.
The one that I don't believe that kid grows into Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg? No, neither do I.
Otherwise, it looked fine. That's my one sticking point.
The one thing I remember about TED 2 was being like, this should just be a show. Why isn't it just clearly? This clearly wants to be a show. Like it was like 4 or 5 episodes in like one movie, and I just remember being like, pick a plot line. Like any one of these would have been fine. So it makes sense that he went in. I thought though it was going to be for the longest time it was going to be 2D animated. It was going to be in a sort of similar style to his cartoons, which is Family Guy, American Dad. It was going to be
at that point, and clearly this was their thought as well. Why bother? Just go back to Family Guy.
I guess, or maybe they were like they got the budget for it to. I honestly don't know because it's a limited show. It's only like one season, it sounds like, and it's just a limited series. It kind of just sounds like he had an idea for a movie and it turned into something bigger. But it's in the same style as the show. He looks like he does on the show, like or in the movies. I
A
mean,
movie.
yeah. And it looks like a fun show. I mean, I'm not against it. If I have access to it, I'll probably watch it. I'm not going to seek it out, mind you, but I'll watch it. It is
Yeah.
a little frustrating that it's holding up Orville, which I believe is a far superior product.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like Orville.
There's been a lot of surprising people in my life being like, "Oh, I like Orville." It's always fun. Like I saw a really funny quote, not to get political, but there is someone bitching about um one of the directors of the new Star Wars movies said awoke and it bothered people, and this one person was like, "Man, I'm tired of this woke Star Wars nonsense. I'm more of a Trekkie," and I was like, "Oh, buddy, you know." Wait, don't tell him that it's utilitarian socialism. That might upset him.
That might upset him.
Yeah.
Might set him off.
I mean, in my opinion, I've always said this: the Orville is the most ideal version of the Star Trek future. Because it's like it's still the Star Trek future. We have spaceships and replicator technology, but they're for some reason making 21st century pop culture references.
And thus I can relate to it more.
Exactly. I don't know why they would. People don't remember stuff from the 80s and it's supposed to be like 1,000 years in the future, but whatever. Who cares? It's fun. And there's some genuinely good episodes of that, especially in the third season. And it's like, yeah, if it's one of those shows where every season gets better, a fourth season. The problem with it is it's now an entirely a streaming show. It's on Hulu, Disney Plus in Canada, and it's very expensive, and those shows don't make money. They're not making ad money.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But now that they're Disney Plus, Netflix, and I think Prime as well now, they're gonna have the ad options on their stuff. So maybe they'll make some money that way, and they can afford to keep making them.
Who knows? I mean, if I'm a person, I'm like, fuck you, no. That's not why I paid for this. But
no, I pay extra to have the ad free version, which means they will also get more money from me, which means maybe they can afford to make more of this show.
Maybe. I mean, for me, if you're gonna put ads on it, make it free. That's my thing. Like I'm not paying.
Yeah.
Like Tubi
is great. You know, it's free and it has ads.
Sponsor us, Tubi.
Sponsor. Hashtag we will totally be sponsored and sell.
I will sell Tubi because Tubi is phenomenal.
The amount of movies and shows that I have watched on it. It is absolutely great.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. Maybe it's because we're like millennials and we're not spoiled.
We had ads back in the day.
Commercials back in the day. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention up top. Book reports are coming later in the episode. It's from the year we were born. We're not going to tell you the year we were born or years maybe. Stick around to find out what that is. And if you're watching and if there's anyone in the chat, I don't imagine there will be. But if there is, you can try and guess what the year is going to be throughout the show if you'd like. That's fun. That's a fun bit of engagement. But we will reveal that mystery at the end when we get to the book reports. Anyway, moving on. Did you hear some 13-year-old kid is the first ever person to beat Tetris? What kind of blew my mind?
I did see that, and then I saw that there was also a news thing where like there was a British news lady who was like a total unpleasant word about it.
Yeah.
And I I'm just like, man, kid's having a good time. Why you got to rain on his parade?
Yeah, she was like, oh, maybe she basically said like the boomer equivalent to go touch grass. And,
yeah, pretty much.
And I was like,
something like go get a life, basically.
Yeah, I saw a video. It was like, there's better goals to have in life. And I'm like, you know what? You know the amount of dexterity and focus? I could get through like...
eye-hand coordination?
Yeah, I get through like 2 levels of Tetris. Like, it requires actual skill and ability.
Yeah, no, especially if you're doing it on the old arcade machine.
Yeah.
That in particular is hard.
And just like screw off, like I mean, fuck you, baby.
Just let them have fun.
Yeah, let the kid have fun and like
as a queen once said, let them eat cake.
Yeah, well, I mean that was bad. That was a bad thing she said.
No, but just let them have cake.
I mean, that was not a good thing that she said. But
all of their problems will go away if you just let them eat cake.
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, that's true. I think the funny part about that was somebody who was like, there's a person I saw who was basically like, she's being derisive, like she's being like, oh, whatever, go touch grass. But like somebody in their news department, like thought that was an important enough story to like put on the air and have her read it out loud. So like, again, fuck you, maybe like.
Like you're not in charge of content control.
I mean, I'm not one of those guys, but like, who the fuck is watching local news anyway? So like,
I mean, media is basically dead.
Basically, traditional media is dead, and you need to, maybe I don't know, maybe there are better goals to have. That's all I'm saying.
Just go start a YouTube account,
or start a podcast,
like the rest of us.
Actually, it was funny. Just as a really quick aside, I saw someone, on my, it was a friend. I saw a friend on my Instagram who was like, "Oh, should I start a podcast?" And I almost messaged her, and I was almost
exactly
like,
"Who you're talking about?"
Like, I know a guy.
Join us.
I join the net. We'll get to why you should join the network later, but you should join the network. They're very helpful if you want to start a podcast.
That's funny.
But the funny thing about the kid beating Tetris though is I thought someone did already. I didn't realize that they hadn't. I could have sworn I'm having a real Mandela effect about this because I could have sworn I saw a news report about.
No, I think you're thinking of Pac-Man.
Am I thinking? You know what? Now that you say that, now that you've said that, I think I might be. Someone beat Pac-Man for the first time like years ago.
Because like I know like the greatest record or whatever is basically like you hit the final level and then half the screen becomes all glitchy because the cartridge like basically flips over on itself and gets all confused, and the person who got the high score had to get points on the like broken damaged side of the screen.
Oh, interesting.
And that's how they got the record.
Oh, interesting. Because what's interesting about those games,
something like that anyway,
not having like you can beat it is. What, did Pac-Man start? I guess it did start out as an arcade game, didn't it? Yeah, I was gonna say like video games had ending screens, but I guess no, arcade games didn't really at that point, did they?
Not really.
You were expected to give up by that point,
or die.
Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, just being 13 into putting that. I mean, yeah, I guess he doesn't have a whole lot going on for him in terms of the personal. The social life or whatever, or the person, like he doesn't have a job.
You don't know. He might be a very popular boy.
That is, I mean, he is now. That is true.
Yeah, he certainly is now.
I mean, he's certainly getting his first over the pants. That's all I'm saying.
Whoa, Justin, he's like 13. That's not appropriate. We do not condone that here. We will never say something like that again. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I am slightly ashamed of myself, but like what I'm saying is he's getting the ladies. Is what I maybe should have said.
He is getting kissing booth kisses.
Or boys.
He is getting kissing booth kisses from boys and or girls, depending on what he prefers.
Or both, if that's what he's into. If he
whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, and I'm not saying.
Let's stop talking about the love life of this 13-year-old boy, please.
Of this very skilled with his hands 13-year-old boy. That's all I'm saying.
No more.
So we're gonna move on to this section of the news. That's the what if section, the Marvel's what if section.
There's more to talk about for that?
Yeah. Well, number one, the head writer. I think I meant to talk about this last week and I forgot. The head writer left after the end of this last season.
I did read that.
Which good. Maybe we'll actually take some chances.
I mean, it's always nice to have a change after a couple seasons. You get an opportunity to have maybe some. I don't want to say better, more creative, more risk-taking, bolder, less safe. Any of these you could slide into this type of stories to come out of it.
Yes.
More also,
of them. Because they do exist. It's not to say that what if isn't taking part 2. Computer still sucks. Sorry for the people listening on Spotify. Hopefully one day we can do this in one go and you won't have to listen to me explain this to the poor people who are watching this on YouTube. So, sorry, Jordan, you got cut off. You were saying something about Marvel What If.
What if? I was basically saying having a new person come in, part of what made season 2 in particular, they really wanted it to be uplifting, so they didn't want to, because I read about this, they didn't want to have it be too depressing and stuff, because it was when they made it was in the height of the pandemic, and so,
Yeah.
They wanted things to feel good again.
I mean,
Um,
I will say that is it was a nice change of pace. I did have that realization where, oh yeah, right, season two or season one, like every episode seemed to be this like parade of sadness. Um, it's just like unbelievably depressing episode after depressing episode, and this one wasn't. This season wasn't that, which I appreciated. And it's funny you mentioned the not wanting to make it dark. Did you hear about the scrapped Spider-Man episode they were gonna do?
I read a little bit about that, but I mean, I would have just been happy having another Spider-Man one.
Yeah, I don't get. I mean, I do get, but like, well, there really should be more Spider-Man, and they promised us more Spider-Man episodes. I think they said coming out the back of season one, they were like, "Oh, there's going to be at least one Spider-Man episode next season." Then they just didn't end up doing them. Yeah, I mean, I want more Phase Four guys. Like, yeah, like that one where it was like, "Oh, what if?" I think we mentioned this last week, so we'll keep it brief. But doing a musical episode. Um, that
I mean, knowing that they made this at about the time when Shang-Chi came out, it explains a lot. Like season two, that's when they
yeah.
made it. It explains a lot, and it's why they didn't want it. That's why they had to, for example, the Hela episode, they had to make it take place in the past because they couldn't have it change. They didn't know what the movie was going to be,
That's it. Yeah,
basically.
that's what
So
I made a video about that on TikTok of people being like, how come we didn't include anything from Phase 4 or whatever? They're like, yeah, it's because they were writing this in 2020, 2019 because animation takes a while. So yeah, they hadn't seen those movies yet. So yeah, that's why. And that's why I'm guessing they didn't know much about Black Widow either, which is why that bad guy from that isn't in it, and it's just the mother randomly, and why it doesn't
yeah.
feel like it's very fleshed out. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah. I do get it.
So yeah,
Um,
going into this next season, it'll be because then now they will be able to use more of the Phase Four stuff since it's actually come out, and
exactly.
with a different. But see, that's where like if I was them, that's where I would have leaned into the more like it's not related to the MCU and it's just stuff that happened.
Exactly.
Like that's what I would have done for
Um,
season two, but that's just me.
okay, so moving on to something completely different. Let's talk about the Minecraft movie, where it was revealed this week that they've added. Uh,
Wait. They're making a Minecraft movie? Of course they're making a
have
Minecraft
we not
movie.
talked about the Minecraft movie before? I could
No,
have
no,
sworn
we
I mentioned
haven't.
it before. Yeah, they're making a live. Yeah, I positive because I told you it was a live action movie, and you were like, why or how or what are they possibly going to do about it?
I mean, that would have been my response, so I could believe that this is something I've blocked out of my memory because it sounds terrible, but
Well,
you
I
should
mean,
describe it. You should describe it for the audience.
you say that, but they recently announced that they've added Jack Black to it, so he's apparently I don't.
That makes sense. He narrated one of the books.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was one of
Wait,
one of
there's
the
a
books
book?
on Audible. There's a bunch of books as far as I know. I just know that on Audible, he was the voice of one of the books.
Oh, yeah. People. I don't know if this is true or not. Um, hold on. Let's just see. No, yeah, no, it doesn't say. But I heard someone say that he might be playing Minecraft Steve. But I'm like, but if it's live action, how does that work? Like, so these books that you mentioned, are they sort of similar to the story mode? Is that kind of what the story is?
I don't know much about them. I just
Because this game
what I
doesn't have a story. So what story is there to
well
adapt?
that's kind of an interesting thing to because there are versions like there's for example the Dungeon Crawler game, which is technically a Minecraft game, but it's not the main Minecraft game, and that does have a story in it.
And is that again
Um,
similar to the story mode story? Like, is the basic
when
framework?
you say story mode story, I'm
The
not sure what.
the Patton Oswalt, the one where it's the made by Telltale.
Oh, the Telltale one. You kind of, except for that, with the one that I'm talking about, I think it's slightly less of a story. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they would probably do is they would probably base it off of that, where it's more focused on the story of it. As for Minecraft, it's like Minecraft itself. It has more of a like what I don't know what you would call a game theory kind of story where it's like there's stuff there to be seen if you know where to look.
Right. So, but okay, to do this in live action,
Oh,
like
that's where I say that makes no sense to me. Why would you do that?
without the aesthetic, There's not
It's not Minecraft.
it's not Minecraft. And like say what you will about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, that matches the aesthetic. Like what people have to say about what I had to say about the writing aside, it looks like Five Nights at Freddy's, right?
Absolutely,
Right? Like that
absolutely.
like it absolutely does. So like
To a
why
creepy degree, quite frankly.
like other cast members are also, and they haven't said anything about this story. I actually read this article because I'm like, haven't they said what it's about? They haven't said anything about what the story. Apparently it's Jason Momoa is also in it.
Really,
Yeah, and
that's
I obviously
that's a
they're
choice.
gonna do a I'm guessing action adventure comedy style movie if it's Jason Momoa. Like it's not gonna be something super serious. It's obviously gonna be aimed at kids. I have to guess.
I would have to assume because that's what the game is for.
Yeah,
That's what's kept the game so popular. I don't, that to me that makes no sense. To me, you would do an animated thing,
that's what you would think. To me, you would do an animated, like a big
like
budget version
A
of it.
Lego movie.
Yeah, and have it sort of be like that. Like I said, like the story mode. Like when I think story in Minecraft, that's just the first thing my brain goes to.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
though I didn't play it
absolutely.
much, but that's what and I'm like, I just don't. Why? It's just one of those games. But to be fair, I also said that about Five
I
Nights at
mean,
Freddy's, and I
to me, when
enjoyed
you
that
say
movie.
live Minecraft movie, all I picture is like when they did that Dora the Explorer movie that I never watched, where it was like this sort of feels like it completely misses the point of the thing that it's based on.
Well, the Dora the Explorer movie reminds me of, and it's funny you bring that movie up because it reminds me, it ties into my book report later, which is interesting. But the idea of the this is the movie version of of the cartoon, right? So it's like, oh, we have to make big swings. So the movie version of the Dora cartoon, she's an adult now, or she's a teenager now, because that's what you do with the movie version of the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's what that movie. But with Minecraft, it's like I just don't. But to be fair, we've often talked about how I don't get Minecraft, so I'm not going to be the one to criticize any idea of a movie for Minecraft because I
it's
don't
just
understand how that doesn't get
it,
boring after 15 minutes.
it has a very specific style. That's the issue. It's not the story. The story can be whatever they need it to be.
Yeah,
That's not the part that confuses me. It's the decision to make it live action which confuses me because Minecraft it has a very distinct blocky, and that's why it's kind of stood the test of time,
yeah.
is because the point of it is it's like you're playing a virtual Lego.
The only thing I could think of
So
maybe
how do you take that, capture that feeling, that visual style, and bring it into live action? I don't.
the
I there's
only theory I can think of what it could possibly be. Justin's theory for the Minecraft movie because this I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna make it into a short later. But this is because if you're bringing in Jack Black, the one way I could see them doing it is maybe it's a Jumanji thing, where like they get pulled into the Minecraft world. And it's like they get like he's like Jack Black or Jason Momoa. They're like regular guys or whatever, and they get like pulled into Minecraft world, and when they're in Minecraft world it looks like Minecraft and like they use the Minecraft tools and there's creepers and stuff and they look like 3D CGI or like whatever, like they look like the game, but then Jack Black and Jason Momoa are like regular people, so it's like regular people in the Minecraft world, and then maybe there's some sort of conflict there.
yeah, I could maybe see it being a thing where now that you've said that and attributed it to Jumanji, I could maybe see it being a thing where it's like, yeah, you start off in the real world, they get pulled into the computer, or into the whatever, the
Yeah,
game, and like when they're first in it, they're in the Minecraft style and it is animated and it's blocky and stuff, and then it's like the game transforms around them and becomes realistic, and
yeah,
then it's
maybe.
just like virtual reality real, or it's like they get pulled into like a virtual reality or augmented whatever, like the
Yeah.
you get pulled into the computer and it's like the modern day, like this is 3033 and this is Minecraft now, as you put put the thing on and then you're in Minecraft and it's you, and then maybe, I guess,
Maybe. I
but
honestly, yeah, it's that's the only thing I could think. Yeah, it's one of those scenarios where it's not an adaptation of the story of Minecraft, but it's a movie about like also sort of similarly to how like there's a Gran Turismo movie, but it's not really about Gran Turismo. Kind of a similar
yeah,
idea.
Isn't that like about them, the people that played the game are like trying to race for real or
Yeah,
something?
it's based on a true story. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
They
yeah.
got guys who a guy who was really good at playing the game, and they had him race cars in real life. And the trailer was
Oh, yeah.
hilarious because there's a line where I laughed out loud in the theater when I heard it the first time. I remember because you were with me. Um, where he was like, where the guy was like, "Hey, NASCAR drivers are are actual athletes." Sorry, I can't even say it with a straight face. They're actual athletes. There's no way these guys could do what they do. And I was like, I'm pretty confident they probably could.
I mean, with enough practice, I think a lot of people
Yeah,
could.
you're just driving a car, man, and you're
Sure, it's
not
a fast car,
you're
but,
about as much of it, and I'm sure I'm gonna get shat on by someone in the comments being like, no, they're not. But to me, a NASCAR driver is as much of an athlete as a poker player. Whenever they put poker on Sportsnet, and they're like, it's a sport. It's not a sport. Poker is not a
uh,
sport.
I mean, if we were going tier level, I would put poker at the bottom, NASCAR slightly above it because driving does take some effort and skill.
Yeah, but no, you're not an
Um,
athlete. Everyone can drive a
no,
car.
no, no, that's where I said it does. Unlike poker,
Yeah,
which
unless you
I
have some
don't.
sort of disability, then no, obviously you can't drive. But like most, 75 to 60%, most people can drive a car, like reasonably well.
Especially if they're not on an actual road.
Exactly. I remember that line made me laugh. So that's okay. Let's see here. What do we have next? Oh yes, we have a slew of upsetting Mickey Mouse. It's still new in the year, so we don't have a ton to talk about news wise. But let's talk
I heard
about
there was two of those Mickey Mouse ones.
there. I have four.
Oh
I have
God.
yeah. There's a slew of just awful knockoff fucking Mickey Mouse shit.
Why? Like
And it was
why?
like they announced them the
Why?
day he went public domain, which just
Of
tells you
course they did.
they were like
They were
raw.
doing this. They had set this up months in advance, prepared for the day.
Of course, they're
And
all frothing
why?
at the mouth to do it
Why? Like why?
because they think they're funny, and because the Winnie
No, they're not. They're
because
annoying.
the Winnie yeah. There's the vanishing of SS Willie. It's a 9-minute short based on obviously it's an upsetting one.
Of course it
Um,
is.
But yeah, no, yeah, they were waiting for the date to happen. So no, it's because the Winnie the Pooh one made a shit ton of money for some idiotic fucking reason.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, so then there's Steamboat Willie set to Steamboat. What's this one called? Mickey Mouse Trap. That's what it is.
The thing that
Um,
I find funny is where people are like, oh yeah, Mickey is in the private,
no, not Mickey.
and it's like, no, not Mickey. That specific image, that one version
Version of
where he's
Mickey.
when he's wearing the hat and it's black and white and the type of eyes, like that
And
specific
it's
thing.
not the character. I mean, it is the character that is, but it's more the shorts that he's from are now public domain, like Steamboat
Yeah.
Willie and all that era of
So like if you
Mickey
tried to go and
Mouse.
make one of the Mickey that they have now, you better watch your ass because
Yeah,
you are in serious trouble.
and it's like to me it's way too legally dubious where it's like there's so many of these where it's just they're using the fact that it looks like Mickey Mouse and it's like it doesn't really look like Steamboat Willie. It just looks like a scary version of Mickey Mouse. Like if I were
It looks
Disney.
looks legally distinct but not dissimilar
No, to
too.
me it looks too similar. Looks too similar to Mickey. It's like there's nothing differentiating this as the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey. It just looks like the mouse. And if I'm Disney, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna wait for every like Winnie the Pooh is one thing because yeah, Winnie the Pooh, you can there's a variation of him where he doesn't look, and even then, the Blood and Honey is just the Disney version. Like like they want you to recognize it as the Disney version. Like the next one has
Oh,
Tigger in it.
absolutely.
And it's the same thing here. They just want you to think it's Mickey Mouse, and it's like if I'm Disney, yeah, I'm watching these, and I'm like, yeah, too similar, too similar, too similar. Like I'm taking, and my thing is like, if you're gonna do something, why do they all have to be scary and upsetting? I had this thought, and I still might make a video
Right?
about this, but why do they all have to be scary and upsetting? Like I had a fun idea where I was like, well, what if we did one where it's a young man or a young mouse or whatever, it can be a mouse, and he goes off. This is my pitch for a Steamboat Willie movie. Okay, tell me if this. I mean, this won't interest you because you don't like quirky independent films. But maybe this will appeal to somebody else. But it's an independent film, and it's a young man. It could be a man. It could be a mouse. I don't know. Whatever. And he's idealistic. He's happy, and he goes and he gets a job as an assistant to a steamboat captain. And that steamboat captain is just a real prick of a guy. He's abusive. He's mean, and he just treats him like crap. And he works for him all summer. And then towards the end of the summer, a young pretty girl comes in and wants a ride, and the boss is like, no, we're not going to give you a ride. And but he convinces him to. And they get to know each other, and like there's maybe a big dance sequence or whatever, where he's playing like a song for her, and like they fall in love or whatever, and it's called, Jordan, Steamboat William.
I mean, yeah.
And it's like it's got like the what I'm like those like independent films like that have like there's an episode of a coming of age independent film like with the saturated like they made fun of it on American Dad. You remember the episode of American Dad where Scott's dad dies, and it's Snot's dad dies, and it's Snot and Steve and all the friends, and it's like they're going on a road trip to go to the dance.
Oh yeah.
Like that kind of independent movie.
I do remember that, and Areti Media also says, I bet Disney will be watching like a hawk for anything that's a little too Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you've seen half of these horror movies, like there's that one where it has nothing to do, like it takes place in an arcade, I think, and it has nothing to do with Steamboat Willie. It's just a character that looks like Mickey Mouse, like, and that's what people like. There's too much legal
red tape.
Yeah,
like to me, the only one that you could really get away with is you have a steamboat family cruise or whatever. Mouse monster shows up and murders people. That's.
I think, I don't know if you haven't. I mean,
because that's just Steamboat Willie, but on a horror boat.
There's a movie that came out that's I can't remember what it's called now. But I can only remember the joke name that a podcast I ironically listened to came up with. They called it Dracula on a Boat, and it was basically it's a section of the Dracula story where it's when he's on a particular ship, and the horror movie is basically he gets out of his coffin whenever and he kills everybody, and that's the basic gist of it. But that's what I would make. I would make Dracula on a boat, but with Steamboat Willie, where it's just Steamboat Willie. I think I made a video where I made that joke, where it's Steamboat Willie on a boat, and there's a bunch of young hot people, and he's slowly killing them, and they're all trapped on a boat. Like that's what I would do, exactly like you said.
I mean, what I would also do is, if I'm having my version of it, that is slightly less terrible. You have them show up. The owner of the boat is like this creepy weirdo, and then over the course of the movie, it's like he's actually the one that's killing people, but people think that it's the weird mouse monster that's been following them. And then the mouse monster shows up, and he's like a Frankenstein's monster, where he's actually good and he's saving them.
That'd be fun. That'd be kind of interesting.
And the boat owner is actually the one that's killing everyone.
Yeah.
And the Mickey Mouse monster, as it were, who's his assistant, is the one that like saves them all.
Is he technically Pete or does he have a different name? Is he just the captain in the original short? Is he called Pete?
I don't remember if he is.
Because what's is Pete short for something?
I think he's Captain Pete.
Is he Captain? Well, eventually they called him Captain Pete, but I don't know that he is Captain Pete in that original short.
I'd have to go and look it up.
But like is Pete short for something? Is Pete short? Peter. I call him Peter. I'd call him Peter, and then that way he could be Pete, or as my friends call me, Pete. That'd be fun. And there's nothing that says that. I mean, I do like the idea for being like a homunculus, like a creature.
And like the point of the boat ride could be that it's specifically like a horror themed one.
Yeah.
Like you go on it to be scared crap out of you, and then like he secretly uses it to make people disappear.
I do like the idea of the captain being the murderer, but I kind of would maybe in my version of this would have it where it's not creepy from the onset, where the captain is really nice and kind and just like it just seems like a decent guy, because you know me, I love my twists. I would have it where the captain's like
Uh,
a decent guy, and then yeah, you think it's the Mickey Mouse monster killing people, and it turns out that the captain's a serial killer, and he's the bad guy in that, and it's otherwise a nice little boat trip, and everything's all nice, and until Mickey shows up.
Two things. One, Areti Media says plot twist: the killer mouse is Walt Disney in disguise. He had to wait until Steamboat Willie entered public domain so Disney wouldn't sue him.
That's actually good. I like that. Yeah,
um,
we can make
oh,
a good horror knockoff horror movie. Okay.
the one thing that I definitely would want in it is because I think this would be twisted and fun. And if it's if the hashtag totally not Mickey, but definitely Mickey is the villain, I want a scene where he's got like the people that he's killed, like one of them, the ribs is on display, the other one like the thing,
You're
and
starting to say what I'm
he's doing
thinking.
the music.
Yes.
He's doing the music on the things and like the various
Yes.
body parts.
Oh, I would yes, where it's like yeah, he's like ripping them apart, and he's playing Turkey in the Straw, just like in the original card. Oh, as soon as you started saying that, I'm like, that's. I was literally just thinking that. I'm like, there's got to be a way we could work in the music, like
The twisted music scene.
yeah, and it's like that. That way, you're doing something like I don't like Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. I mean, I talked about how much I actually quite enjoyed the mean one. That one was actually pretty good. I don't think the idea of taking a beloved childhood character and making it awful. I was against it, but now I'm not. If you do something interesting with it or fun with it, like the mean one actually did something kind of interesting and fun. Winnie the Pooh with Blood and Honey is terrible. Like it's not interesting. And like it's the thing. The thing is like, but at least they're trying. Like there's an element to the mythology of Winnie the Pooh that they've went like, okay, let's make this sinister. And there's been thought. Some of these these Mickey Mouse ones are just like, he's just a mouse thing. Like it's just it's lazy. It's just like the fact that half of these got announced the day he went public
just
domain.
because.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just tells me that all these people were just waiting for it to go public domain so they can put out these horrible looking. Like they're not even like the one of them is like, yeah, there's nothing to really tie it to Mickey Mouse. It's taking shit from Five Nights at Freddy's. It's basically Five Nights at Freddy's with a Mickey Mouse, and he's not an animatronic. He's just a guy, and it's like it takes place in like a kiddie arcade, and it's like yeah, this is aping.
Lazy.
This is aping.
Lazy.
Terrible. It's like this is terrible. Like it's just not. It's just, yeah. It's, if you're gonna do and yeah, I don't. That's what I don't get. It's like these characters are now public domain. Well, I mean, with Winnie the Pooh, I got it because there's no version of Winnie the Pooh you can do where it's not just doing Disney. So I get why they went horror with that. But with Steamboat Willie, you could do other things. Like be creative with it. Do something with it beyond just sticking it to Disney. Being like, this is anti-Disney, and that's the idea.
I mean, the thing is that the reason why a lot of the time, and maybe this is a just me opinion, but the reason why a lot of the time these things become a horror thing is because in terms of writing, it's the easiest thing to write to make a quick buck.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's the easiest thing to go like, hey, this isn't your dad's Mickey Mouse, right?
Yeah, and especially with Mickey Mouse, because for like the entirety of his existence, Disney has very much wanted him to be the family-friendly mouse.
Yeah.
To make a horror movie, that's why you do it, is
Absolutely,
to
yeah.
specifically to make him everything that he's not and get the notoriety and attention that comes with
My
it.
thing is like these movies like with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, like they just because nobody wants to fuck with the mouse, they never get a budget, so it's not like they can do anything. Like if you're gonna do something with a scary Mickey Mouse, yeah, go like hog wild and make it extra violent and gory. And these things just never are because they can't get the budget to do it because they want to turn it out as fast as they possibly can. And like I said, the Winnie the Pooh one made a stupid amount of money because it had such a low budget, and everyone went out to watch it for the novelty of it. And that's what this is. It's purely for the novelty of it. And welcome to part 3, everybody. Thankfully, we were almost done. We were done with that last section anyway. But maybe one day we'll get through a podcast without getting cut off midway. I wish I could figure out why I did that. Anyway, on to part 3. On to book reports. Before we do book reports, we're going to start part 3 off with our sponsor section as always. And as always, as of right now, we are not sponsored. Tubi, Cineplex, anyone wants to sponsor us, we will sell your product. Jordan, do the thing.
We will sell your product.
It's too much. That's a sneak preview. That's a sneak preview of what we could do for you. Just to start off with, we will sell your product. But until we have a sponsor, as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Arete Podcast Network and aratemedia.org. You can go there right now. You can listen to the audio version of this podcast. You can watch the video. I think they link the video. I'm not sure, they might not. But there's all sorts of other podcasts. There's a musical one. There's the Arete podcast, which is the Artie winning podcast of the year. There's a podcast on wrestling, on Goosebumps. There's a podcast for almost every one of your needs. And if you would like to start a podcast, they are a great resource. You can contact Jake. He will help you get you set up. He's got a great playlist with all kinds of information. Very, very invaluable resource. The reason why this is happening. Also, you can also go check out right now our Artie award-winning podcast, a very special birthday episode that I put together for Jordan. We had a great time. We hung out. We had some special guests, and now as a birthday gift, I presented him with an award-winning podcast.
Best gift ever.
Best gift ever. Yeah. So that's aratemedia.org. Go check them out. They are our friends, and they have been very supportive, and they've said a very many kind thing about us. I don't know how warranted it is, but they've been very kind to us. So go check them out.
We'll just have to live up to those kind words.
Yeah. Oh, we're also coming for podcast of the year next year. Just so they know, that is a thing we're gunning for. We're coming for you. We're gonna take that podcast of the year award next year. So with that having been said, it's time for book reports. So the book reports this week, the assignment was to pick a movie, your favorite movie, from which always just ends up being movie you've seen, but pick your favorite movie or thing from the year you were born, and pick a thing that you haven't seen from that year as well. So Jordan, what is your year? And you get to go first. You could pick the order if you'd like, as always.
I thought you said I wasn't saying my year and that we were making people guess.
No, we're now at the part where we're revealing the year.
Oh, okay. My year is 1991. And I have a few things that we're gonna rapid fire around a bit here before I kind of get to the bulk of my stuff. One of the things that came out on my birth year is Sonic the Hedgehog, which I didn't know came out, according to Wikipedia anyway, came out in North America first.
I didn't know that. It's funny that Sonic came out in 1991. I thought for sure that was 1990, and I was going to get to talk about Sonic, and when you were like, nope, I do. I was like, rats.
At least, again, unless I'm misunderstanding, PAL region is Japan, right?
I don't actually know. I want to say no, but I don't actually know.
Okay, well, all I know is that according to the Wikipedia, the North America one came out in June of 1991, and the PAL region came out in July.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't actually know.
Something to that effect, anyway. So that's neat. I really like that game, and Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my favorite characters. I
recently beat that game in the Sonic Origin, playing in the anniversary mode, which is, in my opinion, the best way to play Sonic.
Oh, I mean, it makes it possible. I can't imagine doing those underquatic ruin levels, the water levels, where you have to do that final part against Robotnik, where you have to jump up through the death trap of spikes and water and everything, and there's no rings and the checkpoint before it. So, like, if you lose your rings and then die, you then have to try and do it on all one run without getting hit. Oh my God, the amount of times I did it over and over and over and over and over. And if I wasn't in anniversary mode where you have infinite lives and I only had 3 lives, then you had to go back to the beginning of the game. back when we were youngins, man, games sure made they punished you.
I was playing it as Knuckles, and that game's hilarious as Knuckles because he breaks almost the entirety of it. So like you could just
Um,
climb to the top of the level and glide across the entire level, and that's how
yeah,
I got through
yeah.
most of that game in the afternoon up until that level. And that level was very hard. That
That
part,
level is
and
it.
he drops. He's not like Sonic. His jumps aren't as tight, so he's really
Oh
slow.
yeah.
So getting through that was extra difficult as
I
Knuckles.
would say that area is almost impossible as Knuckles because not only do his jumps lose control, but he, unlike Sonic gets up to speed a little bit quicker in
Yeah,
water. Knuckles does not. So getting through those sections is
I can't
again, I
remember.
say borderline impossible.
I can't remember how I ended up
What
doing
I
it.
remember I ended up having to do for as both Knuckles and Sonic is you go to the checkpoint before the final
Yes,
checkpoint and do not get that final
you
checkpoint
can't.
because there are rings that you can then get along the way to the end, and
Yeah,
that makes it
you taught
possible.
me that, and I'm glad you did because yeah, there's no way otherwise I would have had to.
Otherwise, you have to try and get it all done in one. I think you have one bubble, so
Yeah,
you have like one extra hit. Whereas if you get are able to get those rings, you can keep collecting the rings, and it makes it slightly less
yeah.
impossible.
I can't remember. I think I had to do something really cheap and like cheat my way to get through. I just don't. I don't remember. I don't remember
I
how I
mean,
did
I,
that.
I know, I know. For one of the playthroughs that I did, I think it might have been the Knuckles one. I just got irritated and activated the debug
I
mode. Just
remember
flew
that. You
myself
just
past
flew
that
yourself
point
through it. Yeah. I mean, there was a
because I
point
because
where
because I was like, why? I'm not doing this to like prove anything. This is supposed to
what's
be fun.
what's funny about the Sonic Origins is in order to get the medals, it doesn't count as long as you're getting 100 rings. It doesn't care whether or not you're in debug mode. So you can just open up debug mode and turn yourself into rings and just get. But it'll only let you do I think a certain amount of the coins per level. So you can't just sit there and one. So you can only get like 5 or 6 per level. So I get 5 or 6, and then I move on to the next level, and I get 5 or 6, and then I just turn to Supersonic and make myself invincible endlessly, and it made it extra fun.
Wait, you can be Supersonic in Sonic 1
Mm-hmm. If
in that
you
version? Oh, I didn't know that.
if I no yeah no maybe not Sonic 1. It might have been Sonic
We're
2.
we're talking. I know in Sonic I was gonna cheat slightly and talk about something that wasn't from '91, and briefly talk about how yeah, in that Sonic Origins version of Sonic 2, you could just give yourself 50 rings in the first level, or collect 50 rings in the first level, go and get the Chaos Emerald, and then not beat the level
Yeah,
and get all the Chaos Emeralds that way.
I have to be fair. I haven't played it since Sonic Mania Plus came
You
out.
showed me that.
But yeah, there's an exploit in the where it doesn't it doesn't count it. It counts it that you've gotten the emeralds, but it doesn't affect the state of it. So yeah, you can just get 50 rings and just keep resetting the level. You can get yourself in
Yeah.
an area where you just get 50 rings and you can get like from with one checkpoint. You can just keep resetting the level and doing it over and over again. I did it at Aquatic Ruins. There's a nice spot that has exactly 50 rings. But yeah, you can literally just do it in the first level where
Which I did, which I did,
you
and
go.
then you have all the Chaos Emeralds.
To be fair, it's Sonic 2. I think you can get all the emeralds by the end of. There's enough of the checkpoints where you can get all of the emeralds by the end of the second or third level. I think if you know the layout of the map. I
I
think.
could believe that.
So anyway, the
Uh,
next thing. Move on. Moving on.
next thing,
That felt very
uh,
forceful. Move on. No. Moving
next
on.
thing that I wanted to talk about is a show. That's right. I'm not just movies. I talk about games, movies, and TV shows. That came out in '91, which is called
Yeah,
Dinosaurs.
I thought that came out later for some reason. I thought that was like 93, 94. I didn't realize it was
Nope,
91.
'91,
That
and
show that show's impressive. That I like.
that for when it came out, yeah, the puppetry is very and
It holds up. It still looks good.
cool. Well, then that's because it's practical effects, and
Yeah,
practical
absolutely.
effects usually hold up fairly well.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I mean, I'm not going to go into an episode by episode thing because we'd be here all day. But they've got your standard episodes of like the one episode the daughter gets her tail comes in,
The
um,
puberty episode.
which
I know there's the
which
one
I
where
find. I find funny because um, the baby dinosaur is just born with a tail, so their family is very
Um,
inconsistent rather.
my favorite one is the
Um,
one where Robbie does steroids.
yep, there's that one, or there's the only two-parter in the show, where Robbie goes off to war, to fight.
Such a
I think
weird
it's
plot
supposed
line for like a family
for
show.
I think it was they're fighting against the four-leggers, and it's over
That's funny.
pistachio beans, like the plants are disappearing or something, and they're like, we're just gonna spit on them, we're just gonna, and then it becomes, we're just gonna throw sticks at them and then stones, and then a kid dies and the war ends.
Jeez, that feels dark.
There's a surprising amount of yep, Arete Media. He's like, bro, dinosaurs is my jam. Then you have the episodes where they discover drugs. The
Yeah,
Pistachio War.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Pistachio War.
It's just a good
And
show.
it has. I didn't get the chance. I unfortunately ran out of time, and there's 4 seasons worth. I got to halfway through season 3, and then I just jumped to the final episode because I wanted to make sure I saw that.
Yeah, the
Because
finale. Yeah,
that episode is dark.
the show ends with all of them dying.
Well, not. I mean, yes, they are going to. It basically, like, they've caused all the volcanoes to explode,
Yeah,
and the like sun is being blocked out, and like the winter has come, and it's like, yeah, it's gonna be for like hundreds of years, and the baby's like, are we gonna be okay? And it's kind of like, we're
no.
gonna, like, at the very least we're gonna be together. And like, as it fades out, it's like it's the outside of the house, and it's like the snow is up, and it cuts back to the news reporter. um uh I don't remember his first name, but his last name is Hand Up Me. um
That's funny. That's a funny name.
it's a funnier name when you realize that they are controlled by the
Yeah.
Cause We Say So company.
Oh, see, I hear hand up me, I
hand,
guess
hand
they're puppets.
And up me. Yes, it's a double entendre where that's probably part of the joke is that, and part of the joke is the media,
Yeah, they're puppets at
the
the end.
company,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Joke on the corporate media. Yeah.
which I will say I have one issue with it, and this is okay. So I'm gonna preface this with, I know that I don't know what dinosaurs with 100% certainty what dinosaurs ate what food. But not Tyrannosaurus, the horned ones,
Triceratops.
Triceratops. When you hear that,
The-
Howard hand up me. That was it. Yeah. When you hear Triceratops, do you think meat eater?
no, they're definitely herbivores.
Yes, exactly. So, uh, there's two characters that I would have switched what actual dinosaur they were. Um, uh, uh, the dad character's friend is supposed to be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so he has like the little tiny arms, but they make him like the dumb buffoon kind of friend character. And then the boss is the Triceratops,
Yeah.
and like they constantly make the joke that like he eats people.
Oh, I'm guessing
So
that's
like,
meant to be it because I would argue that because what it is Earl. They're are they meat eaters? Is that do they eat meat?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. But yeah,
because
you're right. Yeah.
there's the one episode where the son goes to like a vegetarian place, and it's like, I think it's supposed to be like a 91 version of like, he might be bisexual.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Because like there's a scene where his dad shows up to bring him home, and he's like, "You're gonna be a meat eater like the rest of us." And the son is Robbie is like, "Have you ever considered that maybe I was born to do both?"
Oh, interesting. Huh.
And like he goes to like a veggie bar.
Oh, yeah, that's supposed to be a game. Oh, maybe. Yeah, that does certainly sound
That's
like it. Yeah.
that's like, it's either that or it's supposed to be like he's a pothead, but to me it reads more like bisexual.
Yeah, yeah. The way you've described it, yeah. And I mean, it's again, it's
Um,
just a great, just from a puppetry standpoint, it's a technically, it's one of those shows where when you say it ran 4 seasons, I thought it only ran like two because I watched a bunch of behind the scenes stuff on it a while ago, and it's a technically difficult show to produce. Like it's a very
oh, I
difficult show
mean,
to produce.
each of the characters has like four people running the puppets.
Yeah,
So, uh, Arete Media says, and ironically hits on a girl. Lol.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but no, that's my one thing with the show is I think the boss should have been a different dinosaur.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah,
maybe a raptor, maybe something that's like when you see it, and that's where like the best friend character being a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I don't see Tyrannosaurus Rex and think big, dumb, goofy friend.
it sounds like they're trying to
I
subvert the
see,
idea of like obviously you'd expect the T Rex to be a mean guy, and I think that's supposed to be if I had to guess,
yeah.
that's the joke. Same with the
I
you're
just
expect. Although to be fair, like at the time, um, um, Land Before Time was yeah, Land Before Time would have come out. So Land Before Time, it was sort of a thing at that point, and that kind of gave the impression that Triceratops are gruff, and I think that's maybe where the idea came from.
oh him being like a gruff like boss like top of the ladder kind of character isn't it's specifically the fact that like Earl the dad is afraid his boss is going to eat him.
Like in the literal sense, or in
Like
like the like he's
like
not.
like in the literal sense like in one of the episodes when Robbie and the boss's daughter start having a thing for each other and like going out with each other or whatever, and you find out that the boss ate all of his daughter's boyfriends,
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, then yeah. I don't know. I guess
all of her.
maybe the joke is yeah, it's supposed to be oh you're expecting he's a triceratops. Yeah, I guess maybe it's supposed to subvert the idea of a plant eater. Maybe I don't. That's odd. That's an odd
I
choice.
just I would have made him a different dinosaur.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I don't
weird.
know, like necessarily. I would have necessarily felt like he had to be a T Rex because, yeah, you're right. That's a little on the nose, but like maybe like one of the bird, like the pterosaurus or whatever, like one of
Yeah.
the flying ones, like he's a bird of prey kind of
Oh
joke,
yeah, yeah. Maybe yeah, yeah. That would have been like a
like
triceratops. Not triceratops. A pterodactyl or
uh,
whatever.
yeah, like a pterodactyl,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
that I could believe eats meat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's odd that they I didn't know that was the characteristic of him. But let's move on to your next thing. Otherwise, we're talking about
Uh,
dinosaurs all day.
um, So we're gonna move into movie territory here, and this is gonna be the last one of the ones that I've seen, and then I'm gonna move on to the one that I haven't seen, or at least I thought I hadn't seen it, um, but so I mean, I was gonna talk about Hook because that came out in '91 as well,
Yeah,
but I I can't talk about movies from '91 and not talk about a movie that's as old as time itself. A tale. Wait, how does the song go? A tale as old as time. Sorry, had to think about that. Beauty and the Beast.
yes.
Um, which I mean, it is a gorgeous piece of animation.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, like just from a purely aesthetic like art medium, it is a
I
beautiful
mean,
piece of animation.
all of those Disney movies from that era, they still hold up. I mean, they're getting on in years, and they still hold up. They still look
Very
great.
well.
And the thing
Um,
is, the thing about that is it doesn't. It's not at that point where the animation and the story and the characters speak for themselves. You don't have to worry about like oh here's the celebrity voice actor. We're not at that
yeah,
era quite
no,
yet.
it's just kind of the story is the thing, and like
Yeah,
it does a very fantastic job of teaching. And you don't need people. You've seen Beauty and the
yeah. I
Beast. You
don't need
don't need me to do a plot by plot thing here, but I think it does a fantastic job of teaching the lesson that those who look like what society thinks is the correct thing aren't always the best thing, and those who are maybe not conventionally what society views as perfect
yeah,
are maybe having an inner beauty or something about them that makes them worth getting to know.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
as a kid who grew up maybe feeling like he wasn't necessarily always comfortable in his own skin,
Hmm.
it that's one of the things that always made me kind of love this movie
That
is Who could ever love a beast? Turns out maybe a very attractive, what is she, 21-year-old, I think, girl?
Something like that. Yeah. But to be
She's one
fair,
of the
that's
older Disney
yeah.
princesses.
To be fair though, that's very much a lesson that era of Disney wanted to teach us, right? Of like, hey, maybe don't like maybe give something a second look or don't judge a thing because I mean that's very much the lesson in Aladdin. It's the lesson in Little Mermaid that hey, maybe things are multi-layered. Hunchback of Notre Dame. We were talking about
Yeah.
that. Like, hey, maybe
I mean,
people are multi-layered, you know?
I mean, it's interesting that you bring up the Hunchback of Notre Dame because to me that is actually an example of trying to do what Beauty and the Beast did of showing that a character that is maybe not physically attractive can have value. I think it does it worse than this.
Interesting. I mean, that's a topic for
That's a
another
whole
time.
other
Yeah.
debate. But my quick 2-second analysis of I'm just going to break it down of why is short and simple. Quasi is beautiful on the inside, but too ugly to get the girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Beast is so ugly that she never takes the time to even ask him his name, but still loves him.
Yeah, I thought you pointed that out when I saw you watching it, and that got me to thinking. Yeah, you know the live action one. I guess I'm gonna. Yeah, anyway, in the live action one, um, do they say his name in that version?
I don't think they do.
Of the questions that they unnecessarily answer in that movie, do they say what his actual name is?
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I don't think they do.
Because you're it's so funny that you say that. You're right. They never say what his name is. Like and there's stories or there's they've done
Yeah, there's
movies or
versions.
specials where you see him
Yeah.
as the human and it's like it bookends the special and they never say what his name is. I'm like
At least I don't think they ever have.
I want
I
to
mean,
say it's
maybe
Philip. I feel like it's Philip.
no. Philip is he's the one from Sleeping Beauty.
Is he?
Pretty sure.
I feel like it's a French name. It's like some French name.
I mean, maybe, but I'm pretty sure Philip specifically. Pretty sure he's the one from Sleeping Beauty.
That's interesting. Yeah, but yeah, no,
To be fair, I don't think they've ever. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm deep reaching here because I don't actually know. But I don't think they ever said the name of the prince from Snow White either.
no, he's very specifically just Prince Charming.
Yeah,
that was a thing in Once Upon a Time. That was a kind of a big deal that they revealed his name, which in that version is his name is James.
yeah,
I think
James Charming.
I think they did eventually give the Prince Charming one an actual name, or the one from Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast. I think in terms of like merchandise and shit, I think he does have a name. I just don't remember what it is.
Maybe I'd have to go and try and look
Because
that up.
otherwise, Prince Charming is just kind of a descriptor. It's not really a name.
Yeah.
Um,
um,
but
but
one of my favorite times my favorite version of the animated version of Beauty and the Beast to this day is remember when we saw, and I have the same feelings about the Lion King. I do remember years and years ago when we saw the IMAX version of it. We went downtown to where the convention.
I think so.
It's where like Flyover Canada is now. It used to be an IMAX screen, and we watched Beauty and the Beast, and it was incredible on IMAX. That's the thing I remember. It looks really good on IMAX.
I mean, it's a gorgeous film, and
Yeah, it really is.
the writing is. I mean, one could argue that she has Stockholm syndrome. That's a whole other video debate. But
I'm not there. There's been lots of people who pointed out that it is not. I'm not articulate enough to point out why that is the case. But there's lots of people who have been like, no, that she doesn't actually have Stockholm syndrome.
I mean, girl falls in love with her captor, but never bothers to ask his
Yeah,
name.
but
Is a strange turn of events. But okay,
I'll send
we're
I'll
not gonna
send
open that can of worms.
I'll send you the video later. There's a video specifically that I saw where Lindsay Ellis, she has a video where she goes through and I was like, okay, yeah, when you put it like that.
Joking aside, I think I've seen that video, but no, I'm gonna because it's fun. I'm gonna kick that hornet's nest until I die. Stockholm syndrome, but
not Stockholm syndrome too.
But no, to summarize, great movie, loved it.
Yeah,
Not my favorite.
it's the reason it's
Not
classic.
not my favorite Disney movie though.
Oh, I mean, that's always going to be Aladdin. I mean,
Absolutely,
it's always going to be.
absolutely,
I mean, yeah, it's always going to be Aladdin. It's always Aladdin.
absolutely.
Aladdin is just like a plethora of childhood emotions. Of like, I love that. It's funny. It's charming. It's scary. Like I
I
remember.
love Robin
Yeah.
Williams.
I mean, my one of my earliest memories is going to see the Aladdin version of Disney on Ice, and that was kind of the moment I realized that theme park versions of the movie are never going to be as scary. And I remember being like prepared for when the snake shows up, and it being a really lame costume and effect on ice, and just that immediately like. No, I wasn't scared anymore because I was like, yeah, that was kind of lame. And I remember being like, I want young. It was young.
I mean, I
We had the
remember when we went
merchandise
to
from that for like ever. We had like cups or
um,
something.
I remember when we went to Disneyland and we got to see them do the stage production version of Aladdin,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how that was a blast, and the genie, and yeah, no, that was I have a lot of fond memories
What's
when it
it's
comes to Aladdin.
funny is I've seen a um uh bootleg of the um
The stage play.
the Broadway musical, and
Oh yeah.
it is terrible. it's
Oh,
yeah, it's really
that's a strong word.
yeah, it's really pantomimey. It's like you know what a pantomime is, right? We
Like
went we,
a mime.
no, like remember we went to see that
Oh, silly.
silly, yeah, but it's a pantomime is a particular genre of. Okay, remember we went to White Rock once. Mom got us tickets to go watch Alice in
Yeah.
Wonderland. That Alice in Wonderland. That's a pantomime where it's like it breaks the fourth wall. It's really silly. It's not very like it's really
Okay.
jokey and it like it a lot of the comedic and it's one of those like all the worst qualities of the
Blustery.
yeah, and it's like they're just saying the lines from the movies, but like it's like jokey and it's not like a bet the it's sort of like remember when we went to see Aladdin and the Oasis.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, basically.
Over the top.
Kind of, yeah. And the only interesting thing about it is they introduce um there's he's got four friend characters who are like his
Mm.
best friends, and one of them's called Kasim, named after the dad. And they keep the mom character. So he sings "Proud of Your Boy," and then
Oh, I
they
like that.
they sing um
High adventure.
they sing "High Adventure," yeah. And
I think I've seen that clip before.
yeah, I've never been able to find it again, but it's actually cool. It's actually pretty cool the way they sing, and yeah, they're kind of fun characters, but they're the reason it's kind of pantomime, and it just wasn't. It was like like I would not pay $100 for this. I paid $30 for this in a matinee. Like it was like for the amount of money you'd have to pay. It just wasn't. But to be fair, the only one of those that like the Beauty and the Beast one didn't look very good either. The only one that looked good because it was taking an ounce of like chances creatively was the Lion King one, and that's because it's made by Julie Taymor, and um she made Across the Universe, and she just likes her shit weird. Like that's just her thing. Like
She's out there.
yeah, she's the one who also made the Spider-Man musical. If you've heard anything
Oh
about
yeah.
that, yeah. So yeah, she's
I
weird.
think you've shown me stuff from that
Oh
before.
yeah, when that was bad. For a while there was a really good bootleg that was floating around that I almost bought because I wanted to actually see a full version of it. I almost bought it at a convention once. I was like so close. I think I ended up buying a Common Rider thing instead. And a part of me is disappointed because I didn't end up watching it because it was a badly formatted version of the show and the subtitles were really like obnoxious and hard to read. Yeah,
Uh, that
um,
sucks.
yeah. It was like ended up being a waste of my money. Um, anyway, so yeah, moving on from Beauty and the Beast, let's move into I guess
From
that's
moving on from things that I've seen, we're gonna move on into a thing that I thought I hadn't seen, but then you informed me that I had seen, but I don't remember having previously seen.
yeah.
So we're gonna move on along with this as if I hadn't seen this. Um, but so I have to ask you, Justin, what about Bob?
What about Bob?
Uh, um, so a good movie, Bill Murray, movie, a movie where so quick summary of it. Annoying guy gets dumped by his therapist, and transferred over to the other therapist. Therapist meets with him once, does like a preliminary interview and all that, and is like, you know, baby steps, go do this, blah blah blah, and is like, I'll see you in a month. Me and my family are gonna go on vacation, and then Bob, psychotically, is incapable of being apart from his therapist for any amount of time, and so because this is the 90s, phones the people that like can get you in contact with your therapist, I guess, because that was a thing back then when they're on vacation, and it's like it's an emergency, and his therapist is all like, don't call me again, Bob. This is extremely weird and unprofessional. And so then Bob is all like, "Oh, that was a dumb thing. That was a dumb thing," and then gets a prostitute slash hooker to phone the same people and pretend to be the doctor's sister and pretend it's an emergency so that he'll pick up the phone again. And then or maybe that was the first time. Either way, when that happens, the doctor is like, "That's like, no, you can't do this. Like, not okay." And then Bob then goes to the phone place and it pretends to be a detective to convince these ladies that had been answering the call, that he committed suicide so that he could get the address of his new therapist's vacation home so that he could go and have a in-person consultation. But he's all like, don't worry, like, don't tell him. I'm gonna, like, I'll send him a letter and let him know. And of course, these individuals, being the responsible individuals they are, um, phone up the therapist and are like, "Yeah, your patient Bob killed himself." And it's the middle of the night, so of course the therapist is like, "Oh, okay, thanks for telling me." And his wife is all like, "What happened?" And he's like, "Well, apparently Bob committed suicide." Not let it ruin our vacation. Also, he's been selling. He's like gotten really famous and is selling a bunch of books and is about to be on Good Morning America. Um, and so he's like, let's not let it ruin our vacation. So then Bob, who in the beginning wasn't able to get on an elevator without panicking because he's afraid of like everything, um, manages to get on a bus and drive up to this place to go find the therapist. So he's in the middle of that town after getting off the bus, and the entire time, and his entire thing is like, if he fakes a thing, then he can't have the disease. So
Right.
like at a certain point, he in the office, he goes like into this bag, and he's like, false alarm, like, I'm okay. Or he's like, if I have a cardiac arrest, no, no, it's not happening. We're all good. It's good. And I'm watching this and finding him to be irritating, so I can certainly see where the therapist later ends up coming from. Um, so he shows up in town, and meanwhile, coincidentally, the therapist and his family were at the store and walk out, and so Bob is in the middle of town going, Doctor blah blah blah, blah, Doctor, like calling for him, and the doctor's all like, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car, like, don't let him see it, get in the car, kind of thing. And then he sees him and he's like, oh, you're the doctor, and you're his wife, such and such, and you're the daughter, and you're the son, and 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 like they're all like, oh, hi, and stuff, and the doctor's like, okay, go to this cafe, I'll call you at 4 o'clock, we can have an on-call interview, and then you get on the bus and go home, right? And he's all like, all right, baby steps, baby stepping to town, and he goes to this cafe, and he starts like he's waiting there or whatever. Someone goes to answer the phone or goes to use the payphone there because kids. Back before cell phones were a common occurrence, we had these things called payphones where you would put a quarter in,
Yeah.
and you would then be able to phone. Uh, and so someone goes to use it, and he's like, "No, you can't use it. I'm waiting for a phone call at 4." And the owner, this older lady and her husband are like basically, who are you? Who's blah blah blah? And he's like, "Oh, I'm waiting for a call from the doctor." And they're like, "Oh, the doctor that bought such and such house." And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we wanted to buy that house, but he like bought it out from under us." and they're like, "We'll take you there," maliciously, because they hate the doctor. And so he shows up at the house, and the doctor's all like, this is extremely inappropriate. And then he comes in and he introduces himself to the family. And I'm gonna rapid fire through this part. Over the course of the movie, he ingratiates himself with the different family members, goes boating with the daughter and her friends as he's tied to the mast of the boat, and he's like, "Oh, because he's terrified of everything. Remember,
Yeah.
helps the son who was afraid to dive into the water and go under the water. With the dad, he teaches, or he helps the son do that, and so then the dad comes running out of the house and he's like, "Don't worry, don't worry. Like I got it now, Bob. I got it now, Bob." Pushes Bob into the water, and like is like with the son, and they're all like unhappy with him. And over the course of the movie, Bob continues to be annoying, and he's slowly driving the doctor insane. And so then there's a scene where he's like, it's after the Good Morning America stuff, and Bob has wormed his way onto the interview, and like made it look like the doctor has blown it and has like made a fool of himself on air, and Bob has been like really good. And so now every time someone sees Bob in the movie, they're like, "Hey, I saw you on TV." And like you did a really good job, and blah blah blah. And the doctor is getting more and more worked up about it all. And so he's like, "All right, Bob, like we're gonna go for a little drive." And as I'm watching this, I'm like, "We're gonna go for a little drive, and I'm going to murder
I'm
you,
going to go.
and
I'm going to go drop you off in the woods.
I'm gonna go make you disappear." So he drops him off at the mental institute, and Bob somehow doesn't come off as crazy there, but instead has everyone loving him. And the doctor that our doctor tries to commit him to gives the doctor back the application or whatever, the submission to put him into the crazy house. And he's like, "I'm just gonna give this back to you so you don't look like a fool for all this, like you can save face." And he's like, "What are you talking about? How can you not see that the man is like crazy?" And like goes full crazy. And so he's driving back to the home, and then Bob keeps talking and yammering on, and is driving him more and more crazy. Drops him off in the middle of the forest, zooms off, then breaks into the store of the older people that hate him, gets a bunch of fireworks and explosive and stuff, and tries to blow Bob up. And Bob's like, "Oh, I get it. Like this is me," and he's talking to himself because the doctor's driven off and is like crazy, like, "Goodbye." And Bob is all like, "Oh, I get it. This is about me, and like how my internal stuff, like all my wires are crossed, and like I need to like deal with my problems before I explode like a bomb." And then somehow manages to escape, like to get out of to being tied up and stuff. Goes back to the house, and the doctor is all there, and the family's there and stuff, and is like, "Bob, like, what are you doing here?" And then the doctor's like, where did you put the bags that I put around you?" And Bob's like, "In the house." And of course, when the house explodes, and then it cuts, and like the doctor's in a straitjacket in the insane asylum, and Bob has literally driven him crazy.
That's
And
funny.
then like it does this like little cut montage thing where he's like, "Well, at least nothing worse, or no, like nothing bad, nothing worse can happen." And uh and then it cuts, and the doctor's wife's sister is marrying Bob. And it's like, does any and the doctor has been like comatose for like basically like in a straitjacket, like comatose for a while. And the priest is like, "If anyone has any problems, say your piece," kind of thing. And the doctor is doesn't say anything. Priest is like, "I now pronounce you husband and wife," and he's like, "Yeah." And then they're all like, "Oh, honey, you're okay. You've come back to us. Yay!"
Just real quick. Sorry, not to cut you off. Just a technical thing. Would you have your gain set at?
Uh, I don't know. Do you need me to turn it down?
Well, you just you keep peaking, and in my ears it keeps cutting you off, and I'm not sure if
How's
that's just
that?
that's better. It's just when you yell. When you yell and you get really passionate,
Uh,
I didn't want to interrupt you, but every time it cuts out and I can't hear you. I can hear you because you're in the other room, but I can't hear you, and I don't know if that's just Discord or if that's affected on the stream. Um,
it could be because my gain is too high. I've turned it down a bit.
oh yeah, okay. You basically you want it like pretty like as close to like low as you possibly can.
The issue is that it's on the opposite. I really wish that it was on the same side as the volume one,
I don't know.
because it's like it's on the opposite side of the mouth of the mic. So without moving my setup,
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
kind of am just blindly turning it down.
Because yeah, you keep when you yell, and it's like it's funny shit, but it just keeps peaking the mic, and I don't know if people can hear you, so I don't want to ruin your joke, but I also don't want your joke to get ruined by the fact that people can't hear you. So I'm waiting for my
That's
moment to be like, I need to tell him he's peaking his mic. How do I do this?
that's because I'm getting too excited.
Yeah.
Um, but
Sorry. Go on.
that was
Finish your
that's
summary.
that no, that was pretty much done. Doctor had a full mental breakdown because of Bob. And as I'm watching it, I'm with my 2024. I watched it. It was 2024. Um, Still getting used to this whole New Year thing.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Um, um, as I was watching it, with my 2024 sensibilities, I was like, with modern doctors, I mean, he probably would have been diagnosed as autistic.
Oh yeah,
Bob,
definitely.
I
I remember
mean,
that. I remember that from when I watched it. Well, I was just listening to you talk about it. It's one of those movies where it reminds me in a lot of ways of a movie you've never seen. It was called something Network. Network, I think, is what it was just called. But it was about the 24-hour news cycle. And this movie very
oh
much
yeah,
seems to have something to say about parasocial relationships and seeing a relationship there where there is none. And it reminds me of people's like there's a fan of a social media influencer that would do that kind of level of crazy, right?
yeah,
Where it's like,
yeah.
yeah, like people do that and think that's okay nowadays. Like this movie tells us well in advance that having a parasocial relationship, it cannot be healthy. And I can't remember. Does it ends with like him having like firmly weaseled his way in, right? They're like he's friends with
Oh,
the family now.
he married. Yeah, he's friends with the family, and he marries the wife's sister.
Oh, he does actually marry her. I thought that was a fantasy
Yeah.
thing. Oh,
I
interesting.
mean, it doesn't. I don't think it's a fantasy. As far as I could tell, it's what actually happened.
Oh, interesting. I don't
Like
remember.
he went crazy, and he's in the straitjacket. And the thing that brings him out of being full blown comatose crazy is the fact that Bob is now part of the family. He's an
Oh,
in-law.
yes. Yeah. This what's funny is I know I've seen this movie. I know we watched it together, but beyond the title and the joke, I've been like, what about Bob?
What
I
about Bob?
and Richard Dreyfuss is in it and Bill Murray's in it. That's
Yeah,
kind of all I remember. It's just like I don't remember much about it other than that. But
good movie.
I
Very
remember it
very
being funny.
enjoyable.
I mean, I'm always a fan. I like Bill Murray. There isn't really that era of Bill Murray. There's a lot of movies I liked of his. There's a really fun one he did called that we watched a ton that I don't know if you remember, but it was called Larger Than Life, and it was the one where he gets the elephant.
I don't specifically
Oh, you don't
remember
remember that
that
one?
one.
Yeah, there's one where his dad, he's like estranged from his dad, and he's like a salesman or something. I can't remember what his deal was, but his dad leaves him an elephant, and he has to get the. It's one of those like animal best friend movies where he has to get the elephant across the country or whatever, and the animal is it's an elephant, but he's like a slightly smarter than average elephant for
Oh yeah.
yeah, one of those. It's quite a good movie. I remember it
Um,
being quite good.
I will say though, as much as I did enjoy it, I do find it slightly exasperating that the wife, because like she keeps being like, oh, he's harmless, like there's no danger. That the fact that like, okay, so this mentally unwell man who had to go and get therapy, um, not only lies to the phone operators to get the number of the doctor,
Yeah, that's
but then
sicko shit.
pretends to commit suicide, to show up in town and stalk the family,
Yeah.
and she sees absolutely no red flags in that
I
at
mean,
all.
it's just also like at this point, a lot of what happens in that movie, he can no longer be. He needs a new therapist now, right? Like he can't
Oh,
be his
absolutely.
therapist. It would be unethical of him to be his therapist now.
I mean, after trying to murder the man, certainly,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. It's a fun movie.
Um,
Fun movie. Um,
but yeah, generally, yeah, fun movie.
do you have any final thoughts before we move on to?
I mean, the only final thought that I have is there was one other incredibly awesome thing that came out of '91, and that was me.
I didn't come out in 1991 because moving on
Was
and
was
transitioning into,
almost
we're gonna
almost
actually,
92,
we're gonna
but
actually move a
they
year.
saved the best. They saved the best for
It's
last.
true. It's true. Mom waited till the end of 1991 to drop her greatest hit.
Oh yeah,
I mean
absolutely.
second greatest hit because in 1990, um, um, they dropped this guy. So
Right. But see, they had to do it a second time to get it right.
that is true. That is true. But so 1990 is my year.
Sorry.
We're moving.
So I'm joking.
We're moving back in time a year to talk about 1990. And we're going to be doing my book report in two parts. We're going to be doing it the stuff I haven't seen and the stuff I have seen. And the theme of the stuff I have seen is stuff from our childhood. And we're gonna do three, and we're gonna do them in a row. We're not gonna do them rapid fire, but anyway. So the first one we're gonna talk about um, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first movie. That came out in
Yeah.
1990. I rewatched that the other night, and man, it's the best turtle movie, man. It really is. It strikes that balance of being a little dark, a little bit of edge, a little bit of like they're like one of the first lines the turtle a turtle has, and this was it was taken from the show, right? The show, they adapted it from the show, so it takes stuff from the show and it takes stuff from the comic. But the first line from a turtle in that movie is "damn," like it's a curse word, and like I remember as a kid being like, they said swear, and it wasn't quite, for whatever reason, despite the fact that the second one is more kid friendly. I'm not gonna summarize it. You've seen Turtles. I don't need to summarize it for you. But to me, it's less scary than the second one. Super Shredder was way scarier than anything in the first one. Also, a thing I really noticed this time around: Shredder, not a terribly physically intimidating guy.
No, you don't think so?
No, he's a tiny, scrawny little man. I didn't find him. He plays the character big, but like when I'm seeing him up against the turtles, he's roughly the same size as the turtles. Like he's not. I didn't find him to be physically intimidating this time around.
I mean, what isn't wasn't the point that he's like, uh, AKA Arete Media says, AKA the best Turtles
He
movie.
is the best turtles movie.
Um,
Yeah, that's my point.
isn't the point of him though that part of what's supposed to make him so intimidating is, um, A, he's like a kung fu master, and B, he has like an almost unlimited amount of soldiers that will do anything. He's a cult leader.
Kind of, sort of, not. I mean, in the cartoons, yes. In this case, the ninjas are all kids who a lot are who have passed like the whole thing is like he brings in street kids and he gives them, it's like a Pinocchio style. He gives them whatever they want, and then when he sticks
Right.
with them
Cult.
enough time,
Cult.
right, and then they become ninjas. But no, they don't start off as ninjas, and it's like they're kind of, yeah. He has the numbers, but that the turtles and Casey Jones beat the ninjas easily with like minimal difficulty. So like, and once they're together, like when they get Raphael on his own, and like they're like it's like 5-on-1, then yeah. But when it's the five of them with Casey Jones, no, they're not really that tough. And he himself, he's not. He gets pretty easily beaten. It's like he gets beaten by Splinter, who's not the most mobile creature on the planet, and he just does a little nunchuck and he throws him off the edge, and then Casey Jones is like, "Whoops, I just did a murder." Um, like literally, he falls into the thing, and then it's supposed to be this kind of funny moment where Casey Jones is like, "Whoops," and he hits the trash compactor. But I mean, that's a brutal way to murder someone. Like he crushes him. I mean, he
Yeah.
comes back in the next one. He's not actually dead, but still, it's a pretty brutal way to kill somebody. I mean, to be fair, in the original, he gets decapitated in that scene. What's funny is that movie. It is, and in the 2003 show, it takes a lot from that original run of comics, where it's like, yeah, uh, um, April O'Neil owns a antique shop that she lives above, and yeah, they wind up on the farm and all that sort of stuff. Like that's a lot of carryover from previous versions of the original versions. And just
Arete,
generally, sorry.
Arete Media says, yeah, but that foot initiation scene is badass.
I mean, it is badass, but especially towards the end, it's just he's not doing anything in sort of a kung fu, in terms of fighting that the turtles do more impressive fighting things. Like, and I think that the guy who works for him, um, I forget what his name is, but the Asian guy who slaps the kid, I think he's more intimidating than Shredder is. Like, I think the costume looks kind of lazy and cheap. It's not the best version of Shredder in my opinion. It's just in terms of just looks and like, I mean maybe I'm biased. Maybe I just love the original so much, but he wasn't really all that scary to me. And there's a lot of really good stunt work in this. Like the turtles, the guys doing the turtles, like it's incredible. Like it's so tactile and good.
I mean, yeah, especially when you think about the fact that they're doing a lot of that stuff in Tatsu. Arete Media says Tatsu.
Yeah, he's way more intimidating to me than
Um,
Shredder is.
no, the stunts are definitely impressive, especially when you think about the fact that they're doing it in big rubber suits.
They're blind. Like yeah, like it's just not even that they're doing these rubber suits. Yes, but they can't see shit in those masks. Like a lot of the stunt work was done basically blind.
Less is more, young grasshopper, Arete Media says.
Yeah, I mean, I get the minimalism of it because it was taken from the comics, and in the comics he's a very minimalist character. Like the thing about the original comics is it's not as over the top as Turtles kind of has become and was in the 80s, and that this movie, it's why I think it's the best one. It doesn't go over the top with it. Yeah, there's a lot of funny they're doing catchphrases, but they're simple and they're fun. Like they're not
Yeah.
it's not like all cowabunga. Like they get a cowabunga, but it feels really earned, and it's a funny joke because like they keep trying to like nail a catchphrase. Like there's a really funny bit at the beginning where they're just saying catchphrases to each other, and Donatello's like "Bossa Nova," and they're all like "Bossa Nova." That and also Donatello is not a character in this movie, which is weird. I always thought that it came before the for whatever reason in my brain, it came before the cartoon, and the cartoon is very much like Donatello does machines, whereas in this Donatello is just kind of Michelangelo. Like him and Michelangelo are kind of the same character. Like they're not really. It's not really until later ones that he kind of becomes the tech guy. And this one he's kind of just a purple Michelangelo.
I mean, that's fair, but Arete Media says off topic. I would argue this is not exactly off topic, but have you seen Batman versus TMNT?
Yes, that movie's
Yes,
solid. That
I
movie's
really
really
like
good.
that one.
That kind of gave me the idea of like I kind of want to see turtle like a series of movies that's the turtles crossing over with, and I really liked how it felt believable that they could exist in the same world. Like that movie really made it. Apparently, there's a sequel comic that's quite good that they should adapt into a movie as well.
I really like that in that I saw the movie, and I really like in that one that they feel like teenagers.
Yeah, that was kind of the when it's funny when people were talking about Mutant Mayhem. Wait, have you seen Mutant Mayhem yet, Jordan?
No, not
No,
yet.
no.
I was gonna watch that one on the plane.
Oh, okay. That one that was really funny to me that they were like, oh, it's the first time that the turtles get to be teenagers, and I'm like, Batman versus Turtles, they're very much teenagers.
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing with the turtles, and that's a big thing going back to the movie, where it's like, yeah, they don't feel like teenagers. They feel like
Uh,
guys in their 20s always.
yeah, yeah.
But that one's quite good.
Arete says, world's greatest fan fiction. Well,
I mean, yeah, but it I mean, the Turtles have done a run of good, cool crossovers in the comics. Like, there's
I mean, they've crossed over with Power Rangers too.
yeah,
If you
apparently
want to
that's
talk about,
also quite good. I
do
would
you want
like
to
for
talk
them.
about things that are weird?
I really, I mean, this
I
is
mean,
off topic.
they did it in the show too. They did it in
Oh
the
yeah,
space show.
yeah. They did do it in the show. Yeah,
I think it was
that's fun.
this version of them. I think.
No, it's the Next Mutation version.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they were both
The
made by
TV one.
yeah, the TV one because they were both made by Saban. That's why. And
Right,
they were
right.
trying to use Power Rangers to promote Turtles. That show. That's why that crossover exists because they're both made by the same company.
That makes sense.
This is off topic, but the power. I always felt like I mean, I know that they want to do live action stuff with Power Rangers, but I always felt like they should do an animated adaptation of the comics. And and
Yes, and then do the one because I think wasn't there one where no, I'm thinking of Looney Tunes where it crosses over with Flintstones.
Power
It
Rangers.
was it was
I
yeah.
don't think so.
I was being a facetious smartass,
They've
but
done some weird, like they did a my favorite crossover they've done for Jake is they did a crossover with Godzilla in the comics, and that was one of those like I can't believe they haven't thought of this before.
yeah, I remember seeing a panel from that where it's the Dragon Zord versus Godzilla, and it
Yeah,
looks dope.
I mean
Uh,
there's some cool like there's a point where Lord Zed becomes an evil Power Ranger and Rita becomes and that the comics are really cool, and I'd like to see them
uh,
adapt into something.
Arete says, "I just mean that movie has no business being as good as it is."
Absolutely, he's right. Yeah, I watched it. I went
Yeah,
into it with the anticipation because I saw the clips of Joker as like a snake person, and I thought it was going to be awful. And I watched it. I was like, I went through. It was a period where was catching up on the DC animated stuff, and that was when I popped in. I was like, yeah, I was impressed. I was like, because I think at that point I was pretty like Turtles out. I didn't really care for Rise, and I didn't like the 2012 version. I was kind of like, oh, am I done with Turtles? And it was like, oh no, I just hate those versions of the Turtles. It's fine.
he says, "Bro, yes, they need an animated for the Lord Drakenarch." I feel like there's another word there, but the heart on my thing is the heart emoji is covering up part of it.
uh,
Um, and I don't know how to make that go away. But point being, yes, they should absolutely make an animated one for the Lord Drakenarch because you can't get Jason David Franks to come back
yeah.
anymore and do it.
There's a really cool.
Um,
There's a really cool short movie video, whatever, of they did as a
him
trailer for
being
it of him as
yeah,
him, and it's really dope. It's really
like
badass.
he's in this in the suit and it looks dope and it's
Yeah,
like yeah,
yeah. There's like
yeah, no, I absolutely would love to see an
there's
animated version
what's
of that.
interesting is there's multiple. It's weird because like in the comics they've adapted the major storylines from the show, but like different and darker. So like currently there's a new Green Ranger, and they
Isn't it his
basically
daughter?
I think so. But there's a Green Ranger where it's like they're wearing the new version of the Dragon Ranger armor, where it's like it's got the gold tint and stuff, and it looks badass. And it's like yeah, there's a lot of cool shit. Especially yeah, there's the pink Lord Draken, also the Ranger Hunter. I would love to see the Ranger Hunter, but yeah, that's one of those ones where it's like you could totally spend
Good
the
to know.
money and do an animated series on Netflix, especially since Netflix is giving them money to do bad specials anyway.
I
Um,
mean, yeah. Arete says, if you ever want to talk Power Rangers, invite Nick from the Goosebumps crew.
Good to know. Good to know. It's good to know.
That is
Um,
very good to know.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had an idea of a musical episode for this that I've been holding off on because I know that obviously we there's a musical podcast on the network, and maybe the person who runs that podcast may want to collaborate on something. I don't know. We're still in the new year, so we're still, you know,
Oh, there's lots of time to get into all the crossover episodes with everyone and do like all sorts of
exactly,
things.
yeah, yeah. The Goosebumps crew as well. That's it's
Halloween, we'll have a Halloween episode. We could have them on and talk about
yeah, yeah,
Goosebumps.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could talk about Goosebumps for hours, but
Slappy.
slap, yeah. But anyway, keeping on topic, we're gonna move on to my second one, which is
I mean, I have
um,
a dummy.
yeah, we're gonna move on to my second movie, which is the and I didn't know, I think I knew that this was a theatrical release, but I because I never saw it theatrically, I sort of wouldn't remember it being, but the DuckTales movie. I watched the DuckTales movie.
Oh yeah.
And man, it's so funny. And my third one is we're gonna tie back to the Ducktales because
Real
they're kind of
quick.
a
Arete says, "Oh yeah, Haley's down."
yeah. We have I have some ideas for musical episode that I wanna get this one to watch some ancient ass musicals. We want to talk about Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and. But
Oh yes.
yeah, we'll work on that. But no, we're gonna talk about
The old
Ducktales.
bamboo.
We're gonna talk about DuckTales the movie, the Magic Lamp, and just man, it's sort of the last of an era when it comes to like doing the movie version. It's not really because I remembered that like the Teacher's Pet movie had come out, but where you basically
Mm.
just do a bigger, longer version episode of the show. Where it's like, oh, this is like, because it's not a very long movie. It's only an hour and 15, And it's like, yeah, there's. I mean, this one does have. It's funny when people are like, well, I said that the genie is kind of the start of celebrity stunt casting, but there's some celebrity stunt casting in this movie. Like, there's Christopher Lloyd is the bad guy,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
you've got Rip
He's the big
Taylor.
one.
Rip Taylor is the genie. It was driving me crazy. I was like, why do I recognize the genie? And I was like, oh, it's Rip Taylor. We constantly. It's funny. This is a movie we constantly joke. That one a catchphrase whenever the genie grants wishes. He's like,
Yeah.
the Bluey. Yeah, we still quote it, and it's just it's just a
Ooh,
fun.
that peaked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The same thing happened to me. So maybe let's not do that again. But no, it's fun. It's also that era where kids bad guys can be scary. Like, that's a thing that I've discovered
Oh yeah,
nowadays, where in kids movies where we're not doing them, with the possible maybe the exception of death from the
from Puss
Puss in
in
Boots.
Boots.
But bad guys aren't scary anymore. They're not. But also it's
Not in
funny.
the same way, but we also in a lot of modern movies, I find they really want to step away from the like you have a specific like Maleficent kind of villain and more society is the problem, or
Yeah.
like personal issues are the problem. It's like a more of a grander scheme thing.
What's interesting, what's weird about that movie, it does undercut itself a little bit, because they spend a great amount of time being like, Murloc is super scary, and they present him as being super scary. But then there's these scenes where it's like he's a mouse and he's getting shooed around by the maid, and it's like
Yeah.
he's really silly and goofy, and it's like it's really undercutting your the tension of him being a scary evil bad guy.
But I mean, I think part of why they do that in this movie is because it's such a short movie. It then makes it so then when he does get the lamp and he has the thing and he has his floating castle in the sky, it makes him seem that much scarier because
Yeah.
in the rest of it he was so
I
silly.
mean, yeah, this
And you kind
movie.
of
That's another thing I appreciate about it. It's like, oh yeah, like we've hit this weird spot where like even kids movies have to be 2 hours long, and it's like this is a nice tight hour and like 20 minutes. There's no fat on it. It doesn't waste a second.
it just gets
It's just
right to
right
it.
to the point, right to it. And it doesn't need any more time. Like this is one of those times where I'm
No,
like, this
not
movie's kind
really.
of it doesn't need any more backstory for the
I mean,
genie
what else
or
would you add to it? Like, would you have like a prequel scene where it's like, oh, 10,000 years ago, and this was him with the previous master, and this is how he lost the power? Unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Yeah. And the genie. I always love a genie who understands responsibility, and it's like the magic seems to be independent of him. Like he's just kind of a conduit for it.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's like, no, no, you don't want that. Trust me, been there, bad choice.
yeah, and it's just the fact that it's like this movie stands for itself. You know what I mean? It's not. It's not trying. The movie is selling itself based on the movie. It's not, again, Christopher Lloyd isn't the selling point. He's the bad guy, sure, but he's not the selling point. Rip Taylor,
Mm,
you're not selling this movie based on Rip Taylor. It's a DuckTales movie, and it's like I didn't
yeah,
realize that this came out during the show. It comes out. Apparently it takes place
really
between the second and third, or either the second and third or the third and fourth, but it takes place during the show.
Huh,
Yeah,
didn't know that.
and I kind of would like to see, like, unrelated, but kind of related. It really got me thinking about, man, I would love them to do. I know they did a finale, but I'd really like them to do a big movie version of the new show. Like, I'd love to see that show get a real budget and do one of these, like, it's the movie, it's a movie version of the, like, I know I said when it came to Rick and Morty, I was like, oh, don't just do a big expensive version of the show. But like I sort of realized this week that I kind of appreciate that every once in a while.
See, what I would do if they were to do that, and I don't know exactly what we would have. You and I would have to sit down and write the plot for this movie. But what I would want it to be is some sort of thing which brings all of the Saturday morning, afternoon cartoon,
That'd be kind of fun.
like the Disney morning ones, afternoon, whatever,
Yeah.
all of them together.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, fine. I mean,
So
that's
like
that's kind of what they were building
Chip
to,
and Dale,
anyways, on that show.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Baloo, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, all of them.
Well, I mean, they did sort of indicate that a version of the Saturday Morning exists in that universe. Like Goofy, there's the episode with the genie, um, where they which is implied to be the same genie from the original movie. Um,
Mm.
Did you not? You've seen the whole show. You've seen that.
I've seen that.
And then yeah, then he brings in Goofy because it needs a celebrity.
And you're
Goofy,
like the
Goofy,
entire time you're like, is Goofy real?
yeah.
And he ends up being
He
real.
ends up being real in the end, yeah. And then there's the episode where they bring in the Rescue
Rescue
Rangers,
Rangers, I
and then
remember.
there's the episode where it's a sequel. It's a sequel to Tailspin because it's the kid from Tailspin,
Yep.
but he's now an adult.
And
Um,
they bring back Jim Cummings, and he is the Negaduck now.
yes, yes, and they brought back there's the Darkwing Duck, and yeah, bring them all together to fight a. And my go-to. I know everyone says multiverse stuff is lazy now, but I just find a way to bring all the old school Disney afternoon people back. And to fight a big thing or something. I don't know. Something. I would love to see that show get a big budget like revival for one last time.
Yeah, well, the reason why for me in this
At least they
instance
got a series finale,
specifically,
but still.
the reason, yes, you're right. But the reason why for me in this instance, why I specifically go to the multiversal thing is because the question for me with an animated movie or version of a thing, is always you have to do something that you couldn't just do on the show.
Yes.
So for this, it would be to have a big budget version, have all these characters, all these
Absolutely.
actors come back. That's where the money's going to.
And
You're
also,
paying all of these people.
I mean, another fun version would be, and they can't do it now, but they could have. I think he was alive. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't alive when they were doing the reboot. But it would be fun to do a thing where it's old Scrooge and new Scrooge team up.
No, that would have been fun, but
So
I think he's passed away.
he's definitely passed away. But I mean, you could
Yeah.
probably find a halfway decent voice man. I mean, if you were going to do it today, which I don't think you should, without Alan Young, you shouldn't do it. But to
No.
have it where get a decent voice, because that's the one thing is Alan Young and David Tennant's version are so different. There's like having watched this, they're
Unless
entirely different characters.
what you could do if you wanted to do something like that is you have instead of it being the Disney afternoon characters or whatever, it's a multiversal thing where it's like a bunch of different versions of Scrooge and the family, and you have like, for example, and I'm just pulling a number here, like 10 different versions of Scrooge, all voiced by different
I mean,
people.
I don't need that many. I'd be cool with the
And then
originals and the newest
that's where I
teaming up.
just said I just pulled a number 5, let's
Yeah.
say. And then like you have a final scene where you see the original Scrooge, and he doesn't talk.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, you could have a thing where it's Scrooge and the new guys. I mean, because the other unfortunate thing is Russi Taylor. I think it was Russi Taylor. The voice who did the original Huey, Dewey, and Louie. She also passed away. She was in the first season, where she played Kid Donald.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
but it would be kind of fun to have her versions of Huey because they very much are the same, just exactly the same character. They're all exactly the same character.
Yeah.
They don't really have much personality, so it would be kind of fun to have it where like maybe the new versions get pulled into the old universe and do like a almost like a variation of the Chipmunks.
Back to Alvin's past.
Yes, yeah, do that.
I think is
That
what
was
it's
so
called.
confusing. That special still confuses me. Where it's like, why did
I
they
love
look
that
different?
special.
It's a good special, but that would have been kind of fun. But I think the boat's kind of sailed on that because all the voice cast is no longer with us. But I always thought that
Yeah.
was fun.
To me,
So
the only way that you could do that now is if, again, you have them show up but they don't talk.
yeah. I mean, you can just
Like
have it
it's a
where.
visual, like you've got 10. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say you could just have it where they just go to their universe and then they show up
Oh,
at
I've
the end.
lost you.
You lost me.
Oh, you're gone.
I'm gone. Can you still hear me?
Oh, now I hear you, but I don't see you, and I don't know. I think the stream is still going.
Okay.
Oh, you've popped back on for me.
Weird. We're having Discord issues.
Um, no, yeah. Well, what were we talking about?
Oh, they could do it where they go to their universe and then at the end you see them but they don't talk.
Yeah. That to me is the one way that you can have the original style is have it be where it's like, or they get brought into the universe, and it's like they can't interfere with it or something, and
Yeah.
somebody keeps trying to interfere with it, and they have to like stop the people from interfering, and
Mhm.
so they can't talk to themselves,
Yeah.
and that way you can have the visual but not have to have the audio.
I mean, another thing you could also do is you could like you could have it where they keep running into them and like use archive footage of the original show when
Mm.
you can and archive recordings and recreate the voices using archive audio, and then just have it where they just see them at the end and have it where they get teleported into their universe. That way you can replicate the style of the original show and have characters from the original show come back and like do voice matching as much as possible. You could. It's a thing you could do in modern day, and that would be kind of fun. Um, but so we're gonna move on. And it will tie back because I want to talk about the final my final one that I had seen, from our childhood, which is the Jetsons movie. Jetsons movie came out in
Yes.
1990, which
Did it really?
it did. I did the same. The Jetson movie, going back to it, was an unbelievably incredible experience because this movie is truly incredible in that it is like the last of its kind. Okay, came out in 1990, which I swear to God, it was much older than that. I
I would
thought
have I would have guessed like at the earliest like 85 or
I
86.
absolutely would agree with you on that because basically having watched it, did you see that clip? We talked about it where I was like that clip I posted. You saw it, but you had no idea where it was from. You want to take a crack at
Yeah.
what it was from now?
Well, now I'm gonna guess it was the Jetson
It
movie.
absolutely from the Jetsons movie. Yeah, would you have guessed that? No,
No, I wouldn't
completely
have.
fucking wild, right? Um,
I forgot that there was that scene where Judy and the dude start singing.
yeah, in the
Right.
mall, we're gonna get to that. So
Right. Oh, I forgot about
so
that.
so this, and this was funny is if I let it go for a second later, you would have seen Judy Jetson in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But this movie's incredible, like in the sense that I would have guessed 87, 80, like and there's a reason why because it was made largely in the 80s, right? It's an animated movie. It's the 90s. Animation takes an eternity at that point,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
this was made, but okay. So to start off with, it was directed by Hanna-Barbera, like the guys, Hanna and
Wow.
Barbera. It was the last movie they directed before they died. Yeah,
Wow.
and okay, the Jet. I read into this because I was so fascinated. I saw it come up. Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc is in this movie. Came out in 1990. I was like, wasn't
Who does he
he?
play?
He's Mr. Spacely.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's absolutely Mr. Spacely. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And I'm watching this and I see his name pop up. I'm like, holy shit, Mel Blanc. And I was like, wasn't he dead by then? No, like he had died by then. It was the last voice role he did was this movie, and he didn't quite finish it.
Holy
They
shit.
had to bring in another guy to voice match him and George Jetson. But this gets made in '88. It comes out in 1990. The original show was 3 seasons, which blew my mind. In 1965. So like,
Uh, Sorry, I'm gonna cut in there. Francis H says left guy looks like the laughing guy from Letter Media, Red Letter Media. Yeah, from
oh
Red Letter Media.
oh Rich Little. Hey, that's a compliment. I'll take it. You're not the first person to say that I look like Rich Little. Rich Little has a delightful laugh. I will take that as a compliment. But to keep on topic, um, the Jetsons movie. Mel Blanc, last movie he made. Oh yeah, sorry. The Jetsons, 1965. The original show came out. This 15, almost 25 years later, after the show has long since ended, most of the original cast is back for this. Most of them. The only ones who are not back are the guy. I don't know.
Elroy?
Yeah, Elroy's not the original. I don't know if the original Elroy was a kid and that's why. But they tried to get him back, but he just couldn't do it. I think it was like he was too old and he was like at the end of his life. And then Judy Jetson. Judy Jetson is, and this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Judy Jetson is played by, I'm guessing, a celebrity. I have no idea. I just was like, this person must have been famous in the '90s because they had a single name.
I,
Their name was
I
Tiffany.
mean, I would believe she was a singer, considering they had her sing.
Yeah, I'm guessing she must be.
They considering they literally had a music video
Two.
in that
She
movie.
gets two musical
Two.
numbers.
Sorry, two
She
musical
gets she gets
numbers.
two musical numbers. Yeah, like
She had to have been a
and it's
stunt
like an
cast.
hour 25, and that musical number is at least 2 to 3 minutes long. It is an exceptional waste of time. But yeah, no, her name is Tiffany. I don't know who Tiffany is. I have no clue. I'm guessing she had to have been famous based on the fact that she had one name. Um, no clue. But yeah, she sings a song that it just becomes a music video. It's just a Tiffany music video. I'm guessing she must have been like a pop star or a rock star or something. But no,
Probably.
it's more, otherwise it's all the original voice cast, all the original voice cast.
That's impressive.
Right? Like they just don't do that anymore, and it really is. It's a once again, I mean, I guess it's been a while, but the basic plot of it is George Jetson gets a promo. Oh, and then what's funny is they talk about George Jetson, how he works he works 2 days a week, an hour a week. That's what his job is, and that's enough to support a family.
God, I wish.
That's what in the 1960s they thought that the work week would be 2 day. And he's a literal button pusher. His job is he pushes the button that starts everything. That's what his job is. He's a literal. And so Mr. Spacely determines that he needs a button pusher who'll just push a button,
To start the plant.
to start the fully automated plant. And it's run by one other guy who's a robot. And it's they have to relocate to this apartment complex, and they all meet friends, and they discover that the where they're mining is actually there's a small community of alien creatures that live there.
Ewoks.
They're basically Ewoks, yeah. And yeah, it's really cute. It's really funny when you're like, oh yeah, you have to take when you're doing a movie version, and it really is. It's just an hour 25-minute version of the show, and it's like, yeah, you have to escalate this. And how they chose to do it, oh, we're gonna take the Jetsons out of their regular space, we're gonna put them on the moon or in space, and that's now. And yeah, it blew my mind that just the amount of original talent from the original show. The fact that Hanna-Barbera directed it was crazy to me. I was like, this
Right?
is like we just don't think like this just doesn't exist anymore. Like if they made this today, it would have 5 celebrity voice actors, and Chris Pratt would be playing George Jetson. Like
Or the dog.
There's no way, or the dog, yeah. Like there's no way somewhere there wasn't a pitch for a CGI version of this. Like there's just no way there wasn't.
Back then? Was Toy Story out?
No, I just mean since then. There's no way there hasn't been.
Oh, you mean now?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah, probably.
and the thing that another thing that sort of came to me when I was watching it, I was like, I cannot believe this isn't more of a classic, because it's like people remember the Flintstones movie, and that movie's god awful.
Arete says Tiffany is the girl who sang "I Think We're Alone Now."
Oh, I actually do know that song, but
Yeah.
I only know that song for its parody, the Weird Al version of it, which is "I Think I'm a Clone Now." So that's the only. But that's the song about how she might be a lesbian or something.
Yeah, and that's all we're gonna do,
da.
so we don't get slapped by
Yeah,
by any
probably a copyright
copyright bots.
strike. Okay, I actually do know who she is. That's funny. But she's the one celebrity voice, and yeah, they brought her in to sing a song, so that she could have a song on the soundtrack.
So see, I was right, musician.
Yeah, she was brought in to have because this movie
Checks
very much
out.
is about its soundtrack. There's like 2 or 3 needle drops in there, which is like, it's
Oh, I
weird.
mean, also just in terms of it being a movie, they needed to pad the runtime, and having musical numbers absolutely is an easy way to pad.
It's wild to me that this exists and is so utterly faithful to the cartoon, and is basically just a big budgeted version of the cartoon. And then 4 years later, I think it was 4 years, 3 or 4 years later, the Flintstones movie comes out, and it's awful. Here's my next viral short. I think the Flintstones movie is very, very bad.
The live action one?
Yeah, I hate that movie. That's another one I don't
one?
like. The one with
Wasn't there like 2?
There's 2, yeah. We've seen one of them in theaters. We saw the Viva Rock Vegas.
Yeah, that's the one I more remember.
The John Goodman one is awful.
Whoopi Goldberg is not Whoopi Goldberg.
No, Rosie O'Donnell. No, Rosie O'Donnell. She's in the original. She's not in.
She's Betty, right?
She's Betty in the original, yeah. And then John Goodman
Yeah,
is Fred Flintstone, and Rick Moranis is Barney. And it's like that movie's
right.
fun, and it looks like a live action version of the cartoon. I made several TikToks about how much I hate the live action Flintstones movie, but it looks really cool, and it's like, oh hey, it's a live action cartoon, isn't that fun? And then the second half of it is about corporate embezzlement and petty arguments and like adults who are mad at each other over an easy solvable conflict that if they just had a 5-minute conversation could be resolved. And it's just like it's about setting up Fred Flintstone for corporate embezzlement crimes, and it's like adult shit where it's like, and I looked it up and I'm like, I can't be the only one who doesn't like this movie. And it's like, no, yeah, at the time even critics were like, yeah, this is supposed to be for kids and kids aren't gonna like this. And I just remember the moment Halle Berry walks in being like, I just don't like this movie. That's one of those ones that maybe one day I'll go back and rewatch to be like, do I still hate this? But
That's one of those ones where I would have to insert that meme from Futurama. I have no strong feelings about this one way or the
well, I
other.
was a big.
I am neutral.
What's funny is, I'm being a big Hanna-Barbera guy for years and years. They were gonna make a live-action Jetsons movie, and I remember we talked about it a bunch of times. But like, how do you make a live-action Jetsons movie? And when it was like 95, 98, we're like, there's no way, there's no tech. Now it's like you could easily make a live-action Jetsons
Oh,
movie.
you could do it.
The
You
the
could do it now.
technology is there to do it, and it would probably look good. But
Yeah,
it's definitely I understand why they've never tried to, because it was speculating on a future that we live in now, and a lot of what they did on that show we have, like, you know, video calls, and I mean that's what we're doing now. Like this was a thing that they showed in the Jetsons, you know,
really, the only thing we don't have is the flying
is the
cars.
flying cars. But it's still funny because in the movie they're very much like, yeah, they have flying cars, but traffic and smog still exists. Like
Yeah, yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
have a very cheery outlook on the future, which I think is funny.
No, no, they did not.
But yeah, so that was the Jetsons movie. I had no idea it came out. When I was looking through my list, I was like, yeah, I knew Turtles, and I was like, yeah, I knew, I knew, I knew DuckTales, but I was like, what? Jetsons came out in '90? Huh. I could have sworn that came out in like '89 or '88 or. And there's so much in that movie that's like, it's like, yeah, like as much as like it very much was like, yeah, the 1960s speculate by way of the 80s. Like there's a bit where like Judy Jetson goes to like a concert and it's an 80s rock, like pop rock concert.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. I remember that.
And
Yeah,
you're like, this is that's why when you're like, oh yeah, I thought this came out in the 80s, I'm like, I could see why you would say that, because the soundtrack and the
yeah.
look of it that's because it was pretty much made in the 80s.
Like in terms of, I guess, in terms of like the animation technique, style, theming, however you want to word it, it very much reminds me of the original Transformers
I could
movie,
see why
where
you
it's
would say
like
that.
that is
I could absolutely
that
see
is
why you would say that.
distinctly 80s.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely reminds me of that. I could definitely see why you would say that. So,
Uh,
with that
it
having
is
been said,
funny though, real quick. It is funny that you picked the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie because I was so tempted to pick the second
yeah,
one.
I had a similar experience with Back to the Future, but I was like, but if I'm gonna do that, I have to watch the other two, and then that sort of feels like it's violating the spirit of what this is, which is to watch something
Yeah,
from 1990.
yeah. I
Um,
had the same thing. That's why it was like if I'd have to watch the first one, and then that's encroaching on your territory,
yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. So now we're gonna move into the second half of this, which is the stuff I hadn't seen, and the theme of this is it's gonna get weird, and it's gonna get weirder as we go along. So we're gonna start off with the first thing I watched was I don't know if some of these you may have heard of, some of them you may not have. But the first one is Dark Man. You heard of Dark Man? No.
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Dark Man is 1990. Obviously, it's Liam Neeson, and
Okay.
it's directed and it's written and it's made by Sam Raimi, and it's crazy because retroactively I can see the influence this movie had on his Spider-Man movies. Like it's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
yeah, and it's a weird, very weird movie. It's basically it's Liam Neeson is a scientist, and his girlfriend is a district attorney, and she's investigating some real estate guy who is in league with the mob, and she finds like a document basically that connects him, and gives it to Liam Neeson. And so the bad guys show up at Liam Neeson's lab and beat him up a bunch and like basically like disfigure him and turn him into like they burn him and toss him in acid. And it's just really, it's like, it's meant to be horrifying, but it's one of those movies where it's in the 1990s, so it just comes across comical. Like there's a point where like they all grab him by like various parts of his clothing and like dump him into acid, but it's like a clear thing of acid where they could just like shove him through it and that would be way more efficient, but it's funny. And yeah, so he gets disfigured and they think he's dead. Like this is really funny shot. There's a lot of really funny green screen moments which have aged very badly that look really silly. There's one where like he get like they set the thing on fire and he gets blown up and you just see his body, him just go flying, and you hear him scream "Ah!" and he goes flying. And I'm like, when did this come out? Is this pre Schindler's List Liam Neeson? Like is he? And I was like, no, this is before he's famous. I'm like, oh, interesting. Because there's so he gets horribly disfigured, and so now his face is just scarred, and like and he's like in bandages and stuff, like Invisible Man style, and like he's in so much prosthetics and makeup, and I'm like, this must have been before Liam Neeson was really famous, because it seems odd, like to me as someone in 2024, to see like, oh, it's Liam. Why would you cover up Liam Neeson? That's an odd choice. But oh, this is big. Yeah. We didn't have the guts or the juice to be like, no, don't put me in bandages. And so simultaneously, he's a scientist of is he's working on this technology that basically allows him to replicate people like skin basically. And so he's trying to like replicate and rebuild his own face. Basically trying to turn himself back into Liam Neeson while also investigating who killed him and why. And so there's various scenes like he's disguising himself as the bad guys, and like, but he only can replicate their vocal cords, but for whatever reason he's capable of like exactly like he'll just listen to their voice and he can just like imitate them perfectly for some reason. So you see him get blown up and he goes flying and he lands in like water and you think he's dead, and the next scene is like there's this really funny transition of the girlfriend walks up to him at the lab and the lab explodes and she looks on horrified, and it does this hard cut to she's now at the funeral looking sad, and it's just this weird transition. It's really weird. And so it turns out that he's alive, and some lab has picked him up, and they're like, oh yeah, I know, he's this homeless guy, he's a John Doe, we don't know who he is, and we've given him this experimental treatment where he now no longer feels any pain. He's super strong, and he has a temper. He's quick to anger. It makes him quick to anger. So it's like, it kind of seems like something maybe you shouldn't do to a random homeless person. You know, make them crazy strong, crazy durable, and you know, a hairline trigger. And so yeah, so then the movie should, and it's honestly pretty fun. It's a pretty good movie, and you can see like his influence, how this influenced him. It was really weird because the entire time I'm watching it, I'm like, is this an adaptation of something? Because there's so many moments of like this. Oh, this is where he gets this ability, and it felt like this was supposed to be like, I should be recognized. And then I looked it up, and it was like, no, there's just 2 sequels.
As soon as you were like a scientist and Sam Raimi, my brain thought of a certain green supervillain who's something of a scientist himself.
Oh, what's funny is there's a scene. You remember in Spider-Man 2, the scene where he's in the Doc Ock is in the warehouse, and you see like the warehouse, and he's like, whoa! Well, that scene. There's a scene in this movie it's pretty much identical, where he winds up in a warehouse and he looks up and he screams, and it's like literally almost shot for shot exactly the same.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you go, I definitely see the influence. It ends basically with the entire movie he's trying to like prove that he can still be Liam Neeson and nice and kind, and the girlfriend gets kidnapped, and there's quite a funny line where he's like, oh, you're supposed to be like a good, like he's throughout the movie been like killing off the gang members who killed him basically, and he gets to the end, and the bad guy is just he just keeps monologuing endlessly, and he's like a really goofy, silly, like they're on top of like a scaffolding, and he's walking along and he's doing this really really like cheesy monologue, and they end up fighting each other, and he's like about to fall off, and Liam Neeson, Darkman, has him, and he's basically like, if you kill me, you're gonna have to live with it for the rest of your life or whatever. You're gonna have to live with that, and he just kind of lets him go, and he's like, I'm getting used to it. And then at the end, he breaks it off with the girl. He's like, yeah, I can't see you anymore. The guy I thought I was, like, a guy I was before, is dead now. And he has this big, like, I am the blah blah blah. I am the typical. Sorry, typical superhero monologue, and then ends with him going, I am Darkman. And I'm like, it just feels like it's supposed to be like a reference to something. And no, he's an original character that Sam Raimi. But most of the time, I was like, I can't believe they haven't tried to remake this. That somebody hasn't tried. There hasn't been a spec script, or like I it's another one, like, I can't believe somebody hasn't tried to make a more upsetting, more violent, more gross, more unpleasant modern version of this, because it was already like, yeah, he's disfigured and gross looking, and this feels like I can't believe someone hasn't tried to make this into a franchise. Certainly Sam Raimi, I can't believe he hasn't pitched a reboot for it, because like you could definitely make this movie today.
I mean, for all we know, someone has.
Maybe. I mean, to be fair, it's not on my radar. Maybe so. I did see somewhere that they're going to do a remake, and they just haven't yet. It's sitting in production hell somewhere.
Could be.
But yeah, that was my one I hadn't seen. That was very weird, very strange movie. Moving into my second one, which was weird, which was Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands was very strange. I didn't love it. I wasn't loving it because I don't want to say I didn't like it entirely, but well, you know what Edward Scissorhands is, right?
I know that it is a guy who has scissors for hands,
and it's Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge.
That's all you really need to know. In order for me to, I don't have to explain much. Edward Scissorhands is kind of two bits. It's, my goodness, suburbia and suburban housewives sure are fucking bored. And isn't it weird he has scissors for hands? He's a man and he has scissors for hands. And that's it. That's all. It's just those two things. Like, it's that one. There's so many scenes of he's a man and he has scissors for hands. Isn't that weird? And it's like it's also an advertisement for Avon. Like, basically the plot of it, there isn't really much of a plot, but the very loose plot of it is a Avon saleswoman. Edward Scissorhands is a robot man who was created by a scientist, played by Vincent Price, which is kind of weird. And he starts off. All he does is the reason why he has scissors for hands, that's eventually revealed later in the movie, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, is he starts off, he's a little robot that all he does is chop lettuce. And then the inventor, it does never really explain why, just gives him a heart, and over time slowly turns him into Johnny Depp, and to the point where all he has left is he still has the scissor hands he uses to cut up the lettuce. And he's about to give him hands, regular hands, and he dies of a heart attack or something. He dies of some sort of unspecified illness, and he ends up leaving Edward there alone. And the Avon sales lady is sort of going around town trying to sell her Avon shit, and nobody is interested. Nobody is really interested in her or wants to be her friend. And she winds up at this mansion where Edward is, and she runs into him and is like, for no real reason, it's just kind of like, you shouldn't be here by yourself. Come live with me. And then, like, invites her to live with him. And, like, there's all these scenes of, like them handing him stuff, and, like, for whatever reason, like, he can't grab it because he's got scissors for hands, but people keep handing him stuff. It's super weird. Like, he can't grab this. Why do you keep handing? Like, there's so many scenes of people handing him cups, like, and then he drops them or can't grab them properly, or like there's so many scenes where he can't open doorknobs, and it's like, you people are just being mean at this point. He can't grab stuff. Like, why?
He has a disability. Why are you trying to do this?
This is an oddly ableist movie. But then Yeah, he moves in, and then all of a sudden, like, he's this mysterious guy, and all of a sudden, all the suburban white ladies are all of a sudden like interested in her and want to be her friend now, and they show up, and she's like, "So when's the party?" And she's like, What party? Like the party you're gonna throw to introduce us to your mysterious new friend." And like at one point, one of them, it's like a Desperate Housewife situation. She's real thirsty, and she tries to hump him in a salon chair. It's really weird. Um, and so as it goes on, it's revealed that he's really good with his scissor hands. So he's really good at cutting hedges. So he starts off with he's cutting hedges for people, and the family he's living with, who have basically taken him in as like I guess he's supposed to be a teenager. He doesn't look like a teenager, but I guess he's supposed to be a teen. So they take him in almost as like a son, and the dad is basically like the dad who's just he's Alan Arkin. He's Alan Arkin. Where do you know Alan Arkin from? You remember that movie where it's Sylvester Stallone and Robert De Niro, and they're boxers?
Yeah, Raging Bull.
Not Raging Bull, but it's basically Raging Bull versus Rocky.
Yeah,
You know the Rocky's coach in that?
vaguely.
Or
Murray,
he's
Mickey.
also in the Muppet movie. I think he's the tour guide at one point. I can't think of what else you would know Alan Arkin from.
Oh, yeah. He was in the wasn't he in the one where Adam Sandler and them try to steal from the hotel?
Try to steal from the hotel. That doesn't sound
Maybe I'm
familiar.
mixing up my stuff, but I know I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he's the dad basically, and there's a point where yeah, he's cutting hedges, and he's like, I've heard that you aren't charging people for your hedge cutting, and he's like, we got paid in cookies. He's like, cookies aren't paying the bills. Um, and so then eventually it turns like he's cutting hedges, and he sees a little dog, and he cuts the dog's hair, and then he cuts another little dog's hair, and the suburban ladies are like, you should cut my hair, and he starts to develop um a burgeoning hair cutting
Business.
business, yeah, and it's all going well for him, and he's got a thing for the daughter. The daughter's with a guy who's just like a dick to Edward for no reason. Like for most of the movie, everyone is super nice to him, and he's just a super nice guy. He's not done anything bad, or given anyone any reason to mistrust him, other than the fact that he's got a disability. And this guy is just like a prick to him for like no reason. So he for reasons that are unexplained, because this is an hour and 45-minute movie, needs to he wants to steal from his own dad in order to sell something so he can get enough money to buy a van, because the entire movie him and his friends are all traveling around in like a van, and he wants his own van. And so he tricks Edward into breaking in, because it turns out that Edward is really good at jimmying locks with his scissor hands. He can jimmy locks without breaking the
Of course
lock
he
or
can.
causing any damage to the door. And it's super weird because like he has such delicacy that he's so delicate that he can cut people's hair really well and like get these really sharp scissors near people's faces without slicing and dicing their face. But yet um he can't grab a thing off the ground or open a door handle. It's really weird. But the boyfriend tricks him into basically breaking into his own place, and the dad has I guess they have a second alarm set up, and so they all leave him, and he gets trapped in the room, and they think he broke in, because he's opened a hair salon, and he needs money to run his hair salon, and so they think that he's broken into this house to get money for the hair salon. And so now all the suburban moms who are all into him have all turned on him, and now are all mad at him and don't trust him anymore.
Of course.
And he's getting mistreated or whatever, and he naturally gets frustrated. He's getting pissed off that everyone is treating him like shit, and so he's basically taking his frustrations out, like a regular on inanimate things. So like he's walking down the street and he's like slicing. Like at one point he gets really mad, and he slices like the wallpaper in the house, and he's like scratching up and the dad's like, we don't take out our frustrations that way, and he's basically like, I'm sorry. And then it happens again. Oh yeah, they think he's stolen stuff, and everyone's mad at him. He basically he's keeping around the house, and he's sculpting. He's shaving down an ice sculpture, and there's snow everywhere. And I guess there hasn't been any snow in this town. And the teenage daughter walks out and is marveling in the snow. And she walks up to him and is like interacting with him. And the boyfriend shows up and like distracts him. Basically, he's like, "Hey!" And he moves a little, and he accidentally cuts her face. And the boyfriend's like, "Hey, yeah, get out of here, you. We don't want you around here." And he's like, "Whoa, no. He lives here. You don't. You don't live here. You can't kick him out. What the fuck?" And it's so weird. Like, and the family basically, like, the dad's on the because it's Christmas, and he's on the roof, like, setting up Christmas decorations. He can see Edward leaving, and he's like, "Hey, Edward, where you going?" And no one ever is like, "Yeah, hey, he lives here. You don't. Fuck you, maybe. Like, you don't get to. You get out. Like, what are you?
Leave.
You leave. Like, you don't
Who
live
are
here.
you?
He lives here.
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's really
get out of here.
And so he gets really mad, and he takes off, and he's like fucking up people's like hedges, all the hedges that he cut. He's like slicing off legs, and there's one point where like he cuts it into something scary and uses it to scare one of the neighbors because they're all hassling him and whatever. And when I was watching that, I'm like, I'm not really digging this. This isn't really doing anything for me. But like, there's a more interesting, or there's another version of this out there in the multiverse where he freaks out and it turns into a murder. Like, it turns into a horror movie and he just starts killing people, Freddy Krueger style. That's all I can think about. This is like, there's a version of this where like it's like a sad movie where he snaps and murders everyone.
Absolutely. There's.
So then he ends up going back to the house, and the brother there's a little brother, and he's off at a friend's house, and he's coming back, and the boyfriend, she's now broken up with the boyfriend, and because it's the 90s and you can still drink and drive, him and his friend are like drinking. He's like, "Yeah, let's go back to the house," and then as they come back to the house, nearly hit the kid with his car, and with Edward Scissorhands kind of pushes him out of the way, and accidentally in the sort of scuff up, accidentally cuts his face, and he runs off and goes back to his place, and where he started off, the mansion or whatever, his home, and the boyfriend, all of a sudden out of nowhere, there's this weird tonal shift where the boyfriend now wants to kill him, and they're fighting. So he shows up there, and the boyfriend is trying to kill him, and Edward like literally stabs him and kills him and throws him off the thing, and is basically like, "Yeah, I have to stay here. I can't go back. I'll never fit in. I'll never belong." And the framing device of the movie is it's the daughter has been telling this is like a fairy tale to her grandkid or whatever, and it turns out that this old lady is actually the teenage girl, and he at the end she never sees him again, and she convinces the town that the teenager and him, they killed each other in the fight, and she's basically like, "I know he's still out there. I know he's still alive because it snows every year at Christmas, and it doesn't snow. It doesn't snow here." And so that's how she knows he's been making ice sculptures. And the last shot of the movie is all the ice sculptures of all the like moments they had together. And yeah, it has a sad ending. And I was like, wow, what a bummer fucking ending. Yeah. But it's a Tim Burton movie, so I just was like, this is weird, and it's one joke over and over again, and it just didn't work for me. I was like, I don't know, I didn't really like this too much.
Yes, fair.
And then
not everything can be as good as stuff from the 91, you know. I'm just saying.
And finally, did you see the other clip I posted, the weird dialogue in the car of the guy talking?
I did, but it meant nothing to me.
But you saw imagine an hour and a half of that, and
that'd be a bit much.
And you will have Troll 2. And Troll 2 is one of those movies where if you know it, you know it. And I saw it was in the list of movies. I was like, oh my god, I have an excuse to talk about Troll 2.
Troll 2?
What a wildly terrible movie. It's one of those.
What happened to Troll 1?
I didn't watch it. So okay, let's talk about Troll 2. Troll 2 is one of those like The Room, Birdemic, like those like bad movies, but so bad they're good. People like them in that, and because they're bad kind of movies. And It's about I couldn't even describe to you the dialogue, which is why I posted that video. I was like, oh, I hope Jordan sees this so I don't have to try to describe the dialogue. Here's the plot of Troll 2. So it starts off. There's this little boy. He's being told a story by his grandpa, and number one, this movie does not have any trolls in it, and it is not. It's called Troll 2, but it's not a sequel to Troll 1. It has nothing to do with Troll 1. It doesn't have trolls in it. It's about goblins, and so.
Well, that's a misnomer.
This grandpa is telling the story about these goblins who attack and eat everyone, and the ending of the story is that the guy who's fighting the goblins, he gets tricked into basically eating food from the goblins, which turns him into a plant, and then the goblins eat him. And this is all so the grandpa can warn the kid, because it turns out that the grandpa is actually a ghost. He's a ghost, and the kid has been imagining this grandpa Noblin. It's goblin backwards is the way it ends up being. But they're going to this town, and the grandpa's trying to warn them not to go to this town because it's an evil town.
Niblog.
I think that's what it is. Niblog. And they're gonna stay there for the summer or whatever. And so the son's trying to convince him not to do it or whatever. And there's also a daughter who has a boyfriend who the conflict is he only wants to hang out with his friends, and he doesn't want to spend time with the family, with the girl. And the girl tells him that he should come with them to stay with them at this place. And she says, be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is why that clip from the car. She's upset because he didn't show up, and they waited an extra, according to the dad, they waited an extra hour and a half, and he didn't show up. And then again, the next scene you see, he's actually followed them with his friends. He's brought his friends, and they're staying in an RV. And so yeah, the son's telling them not to go, and they wind up there, and he sees the grandpa on the way there, who turns out he's real. He is really a ghost, and once again he convinces the son to try to get them not to go, and it doesn't work. They wind up there, and he's basically like, they can't eat any of the food. If you eat the food, it turns you into a plant thing, and then the goblins will eat you. And so he pees all over the food, and the dad gets really mad. And there's this really weird exchange where he's like, if you want to go on a hunger strike, we can see who'll win that competition. And it's really very odd. And then okay, have you seen that clip where it's the guy with glasses and he's looking up and it's him going, oh my god? It's a meme.
Probably.
I'll show it to you later. You probably have. He goes to, basically he's one of the boyfriend's friends, and they've come up in the in this RV but didn't bring food for some reason. So they go back into town. He goes into town and he goes to the store, and he's like running, and a cop pulls him over and is basically like, where are you going, son? And he's like, oh, I'm going into town. He's like, I'll give you a ride. Eat this cheeseburger. And he eats the cheeseburger, and he gets to the store, and it's like really creepy and unsettling, and all the people are really weird and creepy, and they're all staring at him. And he's like, where can I get like meat or whatever? Like, we don't eat meat. We don't eat meat. And it makes him really sick. So what? No, there's the other guy, the guy with the glasses. He runs into a girl earlier. And they're both running away from goblins. She's being chased by goblins, and they wind up at this like creepy lady's house. And the creepy lady gives them something to drink or something, and it turns the one chick into plants goo instantly. And then we don't see what happens to the other guy. And the other friend, he goes into town. He's the one who gets picked up by the cops. He starts to feel sick, and he's walking out and he's feeling sick. And one of the townspeople is like, oh, we ran into your friend. He went to this house. Go to that house. He'll be there. And very sick. He's like, yeah, I'll do that. And then it cuts away from him, and you don't see him for like ever. And then there's a bunch of stuff with the boyfriend, the sister, and it cuts back. And he's now at the house. And it turns out that the stuff that the guy, it's slowly turning the other guy into a tree. and so he's just a half tree and a potted plant, and he's like he's unconscious, and the other guy wakes him up, and he's like, oh my god, dude, move me. And so the guy's like slowly dragging this guy in a potted plant like across, just very slowly across the ground, and he's like, hurry up. And he like passes out. He almost passes out, and the evil. It's revealed that she's a goblin later on, but she's also like a witch, and she's like, oh yeah, you're whatever. She's excited to see him, and the guy passes out, and he's like, don't kill me. And he's like, oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna take part of you. And she goes to like start cutting off bits of him. And like she's like, don't worry, it won't hurt. It'll tickle. And he starts to laugh as if he's being tickled, and then the scene ends, and then it's just a cut. And then it's just, you just see like a jar of green goo, and you don't see what happened to the potted tree guy, and you don't see what happened to the other guy, but it's implied they both got killed. And
I see.
And so then then it turns out that this town is it's a goblin town, and they're all capable of turning. And I guess they must have, he did say this earlier, but they can disguise themselves as humans, and they he basically, like the kid, he's spying on them in church, and they're like, meat is bad and humans are bad, and humans poison their bodies when they eat meat and stuff. And he falls through the roof, and he lands in the church, and they're basically like threatening to eat him or whatever, and they keep trying to feed him ice cream, like, little boys love ice cream, eat the ice cream. And he's like, no, I don't want to eat the ice cream. And then the dad shows up, and then they try to do that thing where they imply that it's just in the kid's head, but it's like way too late for that, because it's already very apparent that he's not, and they are goblins, and so then.
So, I'm just gonna say it. This movie doesn't sound very good.
Oh, it's terrible. It's a terrible movie. And then they're all really creepy and weird and stuff, and the dad's basically like, yeah, we're gonna leave now, and they slowly back out and they leave, and they go back home, and all the people and the neighbors from the church and stuff are all at their place, and they're like throwing them this party, and they're like, oh, we felt so bad about what happened at the church that we wanted to make it up to you, and stuff. And the wife and the daughter are there, and they're like, they made us this feast of food, and it's just pies and cookies and muffins and cupcakes, and it's like, yeah, it's not really food. They made you a bunch of dessert. And the son's like, the son freaks out, and he's like, don't eat any of the food, they're trying to turn you into plants, don't eat any of the food. And the dad's like,
they want to fatten you up.
Well, no, it's the food has magic goo in it that turns them into plants. That's why they can't eat the food. And so the son freaks out, and he's like, oh, we can't eat the food. You can't eat the food. Don't eat the food. And the dad gets really mad. He's like, you're being rude and disrespectful. Go to your room. And the grandpa has been communicated. There's a point in them. They keep saying, oh, I see the grandpa. I see the grandpa. And the daughter at one point is in her room, and the grandpa shows up looking for the son, for the grandson. And she's like, oh, I saw him. The grandson, he's not crazy. She's like, I can't sleep in this room. And the son's like, I'll do it. And so the entire time he keeps going to his room and trying to talk to the grandpa. And so he goes to the room trying to talk to the grandpa, be like, yeah, they're trying to get my family. What do I do, basically? And it's really funny because it's like, they keep the people keep insisting, like, keep handing them food, and are like, eat the food. And it's like, I don't care if you believe that they're goblins or not, but when someone tells you don't eat the food, and then the people who you're saying don't take the food from are really insistent that you should eat the food, you shouldn't eat the food. That's what I'm saying. Like he's not saying it for no reason, and when they're being really like insistent that you should, it should set off red flags.
Aggressively persistent.
Yeah, that should be like, no, I'm okay, thank you. I'm feeling like maybe we shouldn't. So then, yeah.
I'm certainly thinking we feed it to like the cat first.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, the grandpa does show up, and it's basically like, yeah, I have a corporeal form now, and I was gonna lob this Molotov cocktail at them to cause a distraction. And so then they sneak downstairs, sneak past all the all the goblins, and just as they're about to like lob the Molotov cocktail, the priest, the leader of the goblins, shows up, and he's like, "I'm a guy. I actually am a goblin," basically. And then he banishes he uses magic. Turns out the goblins can do magic, and he banishes the goblin.
Of course I can.
He banishes the grandpa to hell, and so the grandpa disappears, and he's gone for the next little bit.
Okay.
And the kid manages to toss the Molotov at the priest, and then he burns to death, and it reveals his true form, which is that he is a goblin. And
Okay.
all of the goblins they're all mad at him, and they're all mad at the family, like, "You killed him, you did this, you whatever," and they're like, "Now we're gonna kill you," and they get weirdly indignant, but it's like, you guys were trying to eat them. I kind of feel like your indignant behavior is not really warranted here.
You don't get to have the moral high ground.
You don't get to have the moral high ground. You were gonna eat them, so like, I feel like you've lost the moral high ground here. And so then the son, what happens next? They're basically, it's like the rest of it is they're defending themselves against these goblins, which are just stupid looking costumes. And eventually the grandpa, first they decide that they need to do a seance so they can talk to the grandpa, because obviously now the family believes the son. And so they talk to the grandpa, and he only has basically 10 minutes left before he has to go back to the afterlife. And he gives the kid a bag, and he tells him that he can only use it when the time is right, and that they must basically the evil witch goblin tries to attack them, and then they cut off her hand. She freaks out. She teleports back to her lair, and she's got some sort of magic goblin stone that she uses to like give herself youth again, even though that hasn't really been a plot point in this up until this point. And she grows her hand back and is good again. And the kid, through the grandpa's magic or something, winds up teleporting there. And he gives them the backpack and tells them to use it when the moment is right. And they're trying to like touch the stone and be like, "Oh, if we use the power of like good, we'll be able to defeat them once and for all." And they're both trying to touch the stone, and it's not working. And the grandpa finally disappears. He's like, "I have to go now. I have to leave." And he disappears. And the kid opens the backpack, and it's a bologna sandwich. It's a double-decker bologna sandwich. And they're like, "Don't eat that. If you eat that, it'll poison you, and you can't eat that." And he looks at them, and he's like, "Fuck you," basically. And he eats the sandwich, and then it poisons him. It poisons his. Basically, it turns out that poisons the meat. So then the goblins can't touch him, and then he summons the family, and they all touch the stone, and they use the power of goodness to basically banish the goblins or destroy the goblins, and they win, and it's a happy ending, and they all go home, and they're all basically like, "Yeah, it's weird that these goblins are a thing, right?" And and the mom's eating this salad or lettuce or something, and she's like, "Oh, this is really, really good." And then he walks away, and then he has like this realization. He comes back, and the mom is now a plant, and they're eating her. And and the goblins are there, and they're like, "Come join us eating your mom, kid." And then that's how it ends.
Okay, that was a wild ride.
And apparently they made a sequel. The only reason I know about this movie is because I watched a documentary about it years and years ago. It was like the worst movie ever made, and it was about this. And yeah, it's weird, man. People love this movie. People will show, it's kind of like The Room, where people will do screenings of it, and they'll laugh at the bad lines. And it's one of those like I don't know, maybe if I were drunker or higher or with a group of friends, like this would be a fun movie. But like watching it by myself, I was like, I was thankful it was only like an hour and a half, because man, I felt stupider with each passing moment I was watching it. I was like, I can feel my intelligence slowly being burnt away. Of the three, funny. My favorite was Darkman, but it was an example of like, this is why I like this exercise, because it like I've been wanting to watch Troll 2 for years, and I've never had a reason to, and I couldn't bring myself to do it, and I've been like, I need an excuse to watch this movie, and this gave it to me, and I was like, yeah, it's weird, and like I'm doing a bad job of describing it to you. I'm not even doing it justice. It's way worse than I made it sound. But like in one of those, like, it's fun bad. It's like it's like
like a car crash.
yeah, it's inoffensively bad. Like it's bad, but it's not bad in a way. Apparently part of why it's so bad, part why the dialogue is so bad, is because none of the crew spoke English. They were all Italian, and only the actors spoke English. And it's one of those ones where I can't believe they didn't like they didn't have that moment. I always wondered, like, do you have that moment of, are we making a bad movie? Like that had to be one where you said the lines, they went cut, and you went, are we making a bad movie?
I mean, you'd be surprised. Sometimes people just generally can't tell that what they're making isn't good.
Well,
When you're so close to a thing,
yeah.
it's hard to really get that
I mean,
perspective.
it's also when you make a thing out of order, sometimes it's hard to know, like, in isolation, is this going to be bad, or when it comes
That too.
together.
That too.
But yeah, that was my book reports. Things from my childhood, and boy, does it get weird. So that wraps that up. With that having been in mind, we're going to talk about, just real quick, we're going to break down additions to the format. We've already kind of done it. We're gonna keep something you haven't seen and something you have seen, because it gives us more to talk about. So, if you want to participate in the book report, pick something every week from now on. Pick something you have seen and something you haven't seen, and tell us what it is. The other addition is after each book report. I will give out an assignment. That there will be a certain. I like. We discussed off air. We like having a bit of structure to the book report. And I like presenting it as a challenge. This is a challenge, and I created this idea with the notion that I was going to challenge Jordan to see stuff that he wouldn't otherwise watch. So, for this week's assignment,
please no.
I was motivated. I was inspired by Troll 2. And I was inspired by a TikTok I saw, which was basically find something nice to say. Well, basically, a lot of people enter criticism of a thing looking for something negative to say about it. So I would like to enter into something looking for something positive. So, with that in mind, the assignment this week, Jordan, is you gotta pick a movie.
Don't do this to me.
You gotta pick a movie that you don't like, that you didn't like, that you absolutely did not like, and you have to find at least one nice thing to say about it.
One nice thing I know it. I know exactly what it's gonna be, and I hate you for this.
Hey man, mine's also bad. I already know what mine's gonna be, and it's also bad. So like, I think yours might be worse. We were gonna reveal what it was. We've revealed to each other what ours is, but I think for the audience, we're gonna keep it a mystery. Just know that it's gonna be good. Jordan's is gonna be good.
Gotta tease him to please him.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to. It's gonna be fun. It might be a bit longer. We might have more to talk. Although this one has probably already gotten pretty long, but I have my own challenge. I'm not looking forward to it. I can tell you that. It's not gonna be Troll 2 levels of bad. That might be a separate episode. But yeah, so you got to find a thing and the second part, for the thing you've seen, it's got to be something that you don't like, and you got to find something nice to say about it. And for the thing you haven't seen, pick a thing that you didn't watch because of the first thing. So that'll make sense when we come back next week. But so like, you know what? We'll give Jordan's. We'll give the one he's seen. He's got to find something nice to say about Batman versus Superman. That's his challenge. And so his hasn't seen. I'll let you use your imagination. He's gonna pick something that he didn't watch because he hated Batman versus Superman. That's the challenge, and he's got to watch it. I'm sure you can guess what that is. I'm sure you can guess, but if you can't, that's something to look forward to next week. So with that, I'm gonna do the wrap up. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Spur of the Moment. If you're listening to this, Jordan just made an angry face at me. He made a fist and an angry face for those who are listening on Spotify. So we're gonna wrap up though. This has been. Thank you for once again joining us for the Spur of the Moment podcast. If you want to get in touch with the show, and if you want to sponsor the show, or you want to be on the show, or you want to talk to the show, you can contact the show at itsjustinsbusiness at gmail.com. You can also join our Discord. Jordan runs it. We've got all sorts of areas there if you want to suggest stuff. If you have your own idea for an episode, you can throw it there. Obviously, you can leave it in comments. That's also cool. You can find me on TikTok. I'm Justin Spurr on TikTok. I've been trying to do this live on TikTok, but we keep getting cut off midway, so I don't know if I can. But I try to do it there. At least part of the podcast gets to be on TikTok live. But otherwise, I mostly do the same thing there. Jordan, where can we find you?
I do Minecraft Mondays on my Twitch, Zethcore187. Hit me up.
Yep, he will be doing that this Monday. On Minecraft Monday.
All Mondays.
Other than that, I think that will be it. We will see you guys next week. We are back. By the way, I forgot to mention this last week. We will be back on Saturdays.